Because we're starting so badly.
Yes.
Guys, don't leave the show.
No.
Towards the end of the show, I'm going to drop
Yes.
a huge KR roster bomb. A huge, absolute huge KR roster bomb.
Yes.
Be
Loco
excited.
Doko, new coach of SK Telecom. I'm really excited myself. I think it's going to be sick. Right, this is episode 2 of Listen Loco. I mean, I don't know why. I actually added like punctuation in there, sort of. It's episode 2 of Listen Local. Me, Thorin, the person who often says Listen Local. I actually don't think I've ever said that, but I'm going to start saying it. It's going to be my new thing. I actually have my own verbal tics, but it's more like I go, well, the thing is, and then another one I do is I go, well, first of all, and like I do have those certain ones, you know, but what people don't realise is everyone in the world has verbal tics. It's just you haven't heard everyone else talk for like 1,000 hours in a row, have you? About 10 topics, so you just haven't picked up on it yet. So anyway, this episode, Loco, is the first one with a guest. So we started the first one, you know, we wanted to set the tone, the rapport. If anything, I'm going to go ahead and admit it, Loco. We were actually a bit too friendly in that one. We were a bit too cordial. We were just chatting and stuff. We never even really actually got that mad. There wasn't even any invocation of the title Listen Loco. I did just listen. It's like I listened. It's like Thorin listens to Loco, basically. Anyway, we've got a guest. So for this one, we've got Mark Z. Because, listen, that's the way the English language is. There's no letter Z. Like, I don't know if you're aware, that's called English. You know, you call it American if you want to call it Z. But I will actually bring this up. This is an interesting detail. It's not really interesting. It's just a little bit of trivia. But I always wonder what the rule should be on people's aliases. Like, are you supposed to do the alias based on how you think it should be or your culture? Or should you do it based on what the person wants? Because here's the thing, right? Generally, I would say you should probably do it the way the person wants. So you say like Mark Z or you say Reckless, you know. But the problem with that is we're all actually hypocrites. Because first of all, in CSGO at the moment, the best team in the world is a Danish team called Astralis. They're the team who actually are getting an LCS spot. And they have a player who's the support player in their team. And his alias is written XYP9X. And because in the early days of CSGO, before we'd ever heard this guy say his alias, the very famous Danish caster, Anders, just called him Zipnix because he thought like the 9 was supposed to be like a N, you know, like the old way of doing aliases with numbers. Yeah. Everyone calls him Zipnix to this day, even though actually years later he said he meant the 9 to be kind of like an E, so it's supposed to be like Zipex. Like, you know, so the problem with that is, what I'm getting to here is you think to yourself, well, if we're going to pronounce it the way, you know, people say we should actually have to change to Zipex. But here's my counter to that, and you will appreciate this, Loco. Is anyone who says that you should pronounce it like strictly one way or the other. So, for example, we should call him Mark Z because he says Mark Z, right? Then you have to call the SK Telecom mid laner Pekka. And if you're willing to call him Pekka, then we can all move forward to this rule. And I don't think anyone in this call is calling him Pekka. I don't think you call him my favourite player, Plame. I don't think we're calling him any of this shit because that sounds ridiculous. So that's actually sort of like a mildly rude joke about Koreans not being able to say the letter F.
Well, we have a different pronunciation for F. Like, we don't have like foo sound. It's more boo or poo.
Yes.
So there is no
Yes.
F. So yeah.
It's like I used to have a similar joke where I used to say that I was going to make millions as an English language teacher in Korea, but for Koreans, and all I would tell them is, say the word nice, and then when they would go, nice sir, I'd go, no, just cut off the like, you got it, you nailed it, nice, yeah. But that's another joke that doesn't actually work, because again, Koreans actually, the end of the word in their word language is just you know, like, it's not actually, they're not adding an extra part on, you know. Believe it or not, they're not actually just all morons. That is just the way their language works. So, well, not all of them. Some of them are. Anyway, Loco. Right, so welcome to the episode. There we go. Started with a little bit of flame there. So, anyway, I should probably actually introduce the guests sometimes. The problem is we have so many famous ones, you know. So since this one isn't famous, right, we've got Mark Z here.
Super famous and super egotistical.
For some, well, listen, you spend enough time around Travis, people do end up like that. No, I actually think of Mark Z as the sort of countervailing force to Travis. You know, Travis is all this like fake upbeat energy, you know. He's trying to be all serious and professional. He's trying to keep things like on a certain tone. Mark's there to just sort of verbally shitpost at times, just give cynical, deadpan humor as well. He obviously sets up the guests to be ones that will actually like trigger Travis and like, right, this guy's an absolute idiot, let's get him on. Yeah, anyway, Travis, no, I think the reason why TSM will win is like, oh fucking hell, how did this guy get on? No one knows, of course. Mark just lets him through the filter there. Like, if you actually decide the people who come on, do they tell you like the rough idea of what their opinion is before they come on your show? Hotline League
Right.
is.
Yeah. So the way it works is they're supposed to post in one of like the text channels in Discord what they intend to talk
Right.
about, and then once I see that, if I like it, I'll pull it in. And sometimes you do pick someone.
Do they bait you? Do they ever bait you and be like, no, I just want to talk, about how great Riot is, and then they come on like, fuck so and so.
Actually, no. There's one time some guy came on and basically did like the old thing that was blowing up on YouTube for a little bit. The guy, am I allowed to say this? The
Fucker in the pussy.
fucker right in the pussy guy. Yeah,
guessing,
basically
yeah.
someone came on and did that to us, and then like
Okay.
instantly, I thought Travis banned him.
Yes.
Travis thought I
Okay.
banned him. The dude actually just left on his own instantly, and that's the only time someone's ever trolled or changed their topic.
Right. You know what? Here's the problem, Loco. We're not going to do low-hanging fruit all the time, but I have a rule on my show I do with Richard in CS:GO where it's also a lot about banter and stuff, and the rule we have is if you have something funny, you just say it anyway. It doesn't matter. So my joke there would be like, wow, that's really inappropriate of Loco to do an interview as a head coach on Hotline League. What the fuck? Why was he doing that? So listen, that's I can't lie, it's pretty
That's
harsh.
Travis Doran.
It is a pretty
my God.
harsh joke, but whatever. We'll start with that. We're on a good note. Okay, we started off with a bit of fun.
Because we're starting so badly.
Yes.
Guys, don't leave the show.
No.
Towards the end of the show, I'm going to drop
Yes.
a huge KR roster bomb. A huge, absolute huge KR roster bomb.
Yes.
Be
Loco
excited.
Doko, new coach of SK Telecom. I'm really excited myself. I think it's going to be sick. Like, listen, Faker said, right, if there's anyone could coach a team where just the mid laner carries, the junglers are all shit, and then everyone in the country hates them if they lose, then it's Loco Doko. So get him in here now.
Wow.
And also, he's the new top laner. Right, no, anyway. So, Mark, one topic I want to bring up with you is one I know you did discuss on Hotline League briefly, but it was so early in Worlds, which was the topic of when everyone went nuts at you mainly, but also Raz and some of the other ones. I think maybe Corby a little bit over the whole like EU fans going nuts. The game that spurred it was the G2 versus Flash Wolves one, where they did the 1-3-1, and then everyone thought you guys like flamed Flash Wolves rather than praising G2. And then beyond that, basically up until Cloud9 did well in the playoffs, there was the trend that European fans seemed to be hating, like, oh, all the NA broadcasters like downplaying EU or whatever. Right now that Worlds is done and we can reflect back on the whole thing, like, one thing I'd like to ask you first of all is, do you think there was any grain of truth to that? Like, do you give any credence to that at all? Is it bullshit?
No, I think the G2 versus Flash Wolves one specifically was one that I tweeted about and talked about and said, like, yeah, we definitely didn't do a good job on that one. I always said, I stand by the points I made analytically, but I don't think the way that we approached the segment was right. And there's a lot of things we could have done better about that. That was something I always stood by. But what happened before in play-ins and through some of the other portions of group stage was that just due to the hours, it happens the same NA into EU. It just depends on the hours. Like, people complain, and so there's a fair amount of complaining about just general fan bias. And what muddied the waters and made it really bad was right after the G2 thing, which I admitted wasn't great. We did a Hotline League where I had said even prior to that, people were being kind of ridiculous, and
Right.
then no one bothers to actually check what you said. There's just a Reddit headline that I said, if you didn't dick ride EU, you got flamed. And that was the actual Reddit thing, and I was like,
Yes.
oh, you cut a lot of context out of what I said
In
there.
many ways, that was better than whatever you said, because anything you said probably really tempered it and made it reasonable and gave like nuance. I think. Listen, I just heard that line now. I think it's straight fire. So yeah, I agree. All these dick riders out there, like, no, it's
Yeah,
more
it was-
sexy as a headline, right?
Yeah, it
Of
was
course.
definitely more tension grabbing, but it did lose a lot of context where I was like, listen, I
Okay.
think we didn't do a lot of things right in that G2 segment, but there's been a lot of stuff before then too.
Okay. What did you think? Okay, because I did that video on the topic, and I tried to, do what I always do, try and think of every angle I can on it, and then obviously I am subjective. I give, my thoughts on it, which I think, right. What did you think of the angle I went with, which is that I guess you kind of agree because you kind of just said it there. It also depends, when you catch which set of fans and what particular team it is you're talking about, and also, how that team's expectations are. Because I'll tell you something, mate. Anyone who thinks it's just EU fans that were abominable there, me and Loco have a thing or two to tell everyone about C9 and NA fans after that Afrika series and us predicting Afrika to win. Like, you would have thought, literally, we just said, America should be wiped off the map or something. Like, you would really think we said something ridiculous like that. Not just predicted a Korean team to win a best of 5 at Worlds. Because, like, generally fans, that's actually probably the downside if you think about it, is it only tends to really happen, I notice, when the team that they like does well. It's not that the team did badly and you flame them. It's like, it's when the underdog wins, they go apeshit for some reason. I don't know why. It's like, in that moment, I'd be celebrating, but they're just ready to just pound us.
Well, that's the thing that happens all the time too. Is like if you flame one fan base or like call them out on something, they think you're defending the other one. Whereas like
Right.
I've never defended the NA fan base as not being obnoxious. I think both. What I've always said is every fan base is like basically equally obnoxious. It's just how much they win and how much they can
Right.
be obnoxious in your face. So like coming from Boston, where we
Yes.
win all the time, I am very familiar with being called an obnoxious sports
Sure.
fan.
Yes.
And so like when Europe wins more, I don't think they're more obnoxious. I think they just have more opportunities to be obnoxious. Like I don't think
Right.
there's anything different realistically about the EU versus NA fan bases. It was just the kind of thing where like I saw way more EU flame at that time, and that's what I said.
Okay. And here's the thing, I will actually corroborate that, because back in the day when TSM was winning still, so a year or two ago, in those days, I used to obviously say TSM fans were the worst. But if I actually had to categorize it, I would just say that's because they have more fans. So therefore, the ratio of like a really obnoxious fans was way higher. Because I always used to give as the counterbalance that it wasn't just, NA fans, it wasn't every fan. Because I always used to give the analogy of the Cloud9 fans and say, actually, they generally were some of the coolest fans. They seem like they appreciated just. But I have to say, I've just told you on this show they were terrible this particular Worlds. Like they even did that classic thing that does tilt me, which is, listen, I'm totally up for flame. Like, obviously, I flame people. So if you want to flame me, cool. But then if I flame you back, okay, you have to take it as well. So the thing that tilted me was this. So, okay, they got their moment. When a Freak of Freaks lost 3-0, they got to go ham on me and Loco. So then Fnatic 3-0's Cloud9. Then they get mad at us having our moment. What? Wait a minute, do we not get to win? Are we not ever allowed to win? What the fuck? Everyone gets to flame. That could be the title of this episode. Everyone gets to flame.
Yeah, it was the same
everyone
thing.
gets to flame. There we go. There's the title. Write it down, Loco. Come on, Mark.
I was gonna say it was the same thing too when Fnatic lost, and then like C9 fans started flaming them for losing, and everyone just gets mad when they get flamed because no one's used to it for the most part.
Here's the
average
thing,
person
though.
is not used to it.
One thing you do have to admit, because I'll even say it, it's totally true. I'm European, obviously. Although, to be fair, in some ways that's going to end soon if you know anything about politics over here. But when Fnatic lost Worlds Finals, what I loved was, players always do that thing. They've copied off like modern sports stars where you just lie and say like, oh, congrats to my opponent. He was good. Good luck in the rest of the tournament. So like right up until the Worlds Finals, everyone, you would have thought EU were all like, hand in hand, like, oh, go take our spiritual energy, Fnatic, we want you to win. But the second that they lost, G2 and Fnatic just started flaming each other like, yeah, but you got bitch slapped by IG more than us, homie. Like, and you were losing more scrims. Like, EU players are clearly like way worse than NA for that. Like, because here's the thing, the NA players do think that. They just don't put it on Twitter though. Like, they don't just go on Twitter like, yeah, but you know what, Bjergsen, you sucked RNG's dick way harder than I did when I lost. Like, they don't do that on Twitter, dude. Like, they probably just say that privately or in DMs or something.
No,
Yeah,
but
when
I let me touch on this first. So there's like a moment in like NALCS when big investments came in, and then Andy sat me down, and then he talked about what if it, we can't say stuff like this anymore. I'm not gonna say stuff like this. I know I said stuff like this in the past, but due to the amount of money that's coming in and the eyes on sponsors, like we're not gonna do this anymore. And when I was on TL and TL started getting the investment, Steve had the same kind of talk with everyone. So it's just when big sponsors and big money comes in, it's not worth being an idiot on Twitter for.
Okay.
And that's just the truth of it, in my opinion.
Okay.
I can see that angle. The thing I was going to throw in there too was like the idea that like the fans are chummy is very different than the players, because I bumped into Sven and Mithy after Fnatic had beaten C9,
Right.
and I was like, are you guys like proud that Europe's going to the finals, like, for the first time in forever, or the first time ever, depending on how you want to talk about it.
Yes.
And they were like, fuck no, I'm not happy about that. Fuck those guys. Like, I want to be the first one to go and represent the West and all that
legit.
stuff. And there's zero camaraderie between
Yeah.
teams.
I like that.
Wait. We had that exact same conversation with Darshan at TwitchCon. Do you remember when my friend Mia was asking us about finals and stuff when we were talking about Worlds, and we were like, I think it was you, me, Darshan, Brittany, and Mia, and then we were like, I mean, honestly, good for them, but I'm fucking pissed because
Yeah.
I want to be the first one to win Worlds. That's like the West. I want to be the first one to be at the finals. Like, I think every competitor feels that way. Like, good for you, but I want that record. I want that like highlight.
Okay. I like that little story though, where like Reginald came in and he was like, "Listen, guys, we've hit the threshold that we can't say these things anymore." You're like, "Oh fuck, I love saying that." He's like, "Nope, sorry, like the money's too big now." I just imagine you wouldn't have been there, Loco. This was like a year after your time actually, but I imagine the worst day in the TSM house was Reginald comes in. Oh, he's looking all glum, you know. He seems a bit depressed. They go, "What's wrong, Reggie? Everything's going well. You know, we're getting a new roster in TSM." He goes, "You're not going to believe it. Like, there's all this shit going on in CS:GO with this thing called PEA. Now I'm going to have to fucking pretend to like Thorin and get him to like do an interview with me or something." Like, it's going to be so hard. Like, I'm going to have to go get that red box I'd always had on the wall, like in case of emergency. Like I don't know, my Twitter address or something. Like, contact this guy. He's like, gonna have to do that, aren't I? Gonna have to pretend like this arsehole, this ginger guy who's been flaming for 2 years.
Damn,
But anyway, he
you'd love
did.
to hate TSM still.
Everyone does, mate. Here's the thing, though. Everyone should understand it, because there's people who love to hate me. Again, it's the same thing, right? It is fun. It wouldn't be funny if everything I said was brilliant and really profound, would it? Like, some of it has to be stupid to just go, why does he say stupid stuff like that? I need to just
Yeah.
shut up and let the other guys talk. It's like, yeah.
You're really an odd mixture of person. Like,
I
there's
am.
sometimes where you're so immature, and then behind the scene, like, you supported me a lot, and you supported like other creators a lot, like with
Well,
no benefit to you.
You know,
like,
let's not ruin the whole persona or anything. Like, no, I didn't do it that Loco. I said, fuck all you guys, and you'll never make it, and get out of my way. Yeah.
you're a really weird person to me sometimes. Like, when we met in real life, like you were extremely rude to me, but you helped me at my lowest point. Like, I don't know.
You see, yeah.
Sometimes I feel like when I understand you, and then I get like this like
Yeah.
grabber by the pussy shit from you, and I'm like, okay, I thought I knew him. I guess I didn't.
Yes.
Like,
No, the thing is, I'd actually forgotten. Listen, I have a pretty good memory, Loco, but I had actually forgotten that because he mentioned this on like one of our past episodes, maybe the one with Monty or the first episode of this. But there was a time when I came to NA to do those interviews, if you remember, with the Cloud9 players when like Meteos and High were still on the team. And when I came towards the end of that trip, they had like a house party, I think like High or something through it, you know, and a whole bunch of players were there. And Loco did come in, and then he just, you know, like he does, he did at the time we were still beefing, you know. He just walked up, and you know, this is a house party, so you're supposed to sort of let loose, you know, and like forget all the business shit. But Loco did walk by and go like, "Hey, Thorin," and I did just say, "Fuck off," and then just kept
yeah,
like,
like
drinking
that,
some
who the
vodka or
fuck does
something.
that?
Wait, that's
So rude.
I know.
he's fucking with you.
No, he wasn't.
No, I wasn't. I actually
No,
wasn't.
you're
That's
straight
the
up
thing.
just like, fuck
Yeah,
off.
I was just like,
Yeah.
"Fuck this guy." I don't get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, "Don't come talk to me." So
All
anyway,
right, because I
let's
say
move-
fuck off to people as a joke all the
Yeah,
time.
no.
but-
Yeah.
But you're saying it when you're laughing, like Doran. It's like
Yes.
deadpan, like fuck off. Like I'm like, okay, dude, like what the fuck? Like both like actual people. I understand we
Sure.
beef on the internet, but it's internet beef. Like this is
Okay.
real life. There's different rules, but Doran was just an asshole.
Okay. Anyway, speaking of assholes who have to change, the NALCS has got a lot of off-season rumours going around. A lot of the rosters maybe are going to be different when we see them next in our beloved NALCS. So let's talk about some of these. So let's talk, obviously, Mark, about my favourite team, TSM, because it's very important that we established early in the episode that we're going to talk about TSM, because TSM fans don't have a very long attention span, you know, so they're going to tune out now anyway and say the whole episode is about TSM and that we were flaming them the whole time. So what's great is, in about 20 minutes, we can talk about all the other teams we care about and the good teams and, you know, like really good analysis, because we'll have all the idiots out of the room at that point in time. So let's start here, right? If it was up to you, do you actually think TSM needed to do any roster moves? Do they need to? Could they just run back the same roster? Because they've got a new coach, you know?
Yeah, I don't think they could. I mean, like they definitely had a high skill ceiling, I think, but the whole point for these roster moves was to be like competitive on the international stage, and they're not even that competitive in their own region.
Sure.
So like, if your goal was to like get out of groups and advance really far, and you're struggling this hard, I think you probably do need some roster moves. Like, I don't think this team makes a ton of sense stylistically with like what each player wants to do. And so like, even though Grig was really good and serviceable, I think like the idea of looking for a better jungler makes some sense. I think you can probably take a hard look at top lane, because Hanser was very hit or miss over the course of the year. You can talk about Mithy maybe underperforming. The only two people I felt like were like still studs like they were before they were on this roster were Sven and Bjergsen.
Okay. So, Loco, along those lines, one of the rumoured moves, obviously, has been that TSM picks up this guy called Broken Blade from the Turkish League, and people have been assuming, yeah, this means like Haunter gets removed or whatever. The question I have is this. when he said there, like, Haunts is one of the people you could pick as someone to replace, etc. Does he need to be replaced? I mean, people were hyping the guy pretty highly when TSM was winning, when they were winning the LCS splits. People said he was the best top laner. So is one bad year enough? Would you keep him?
Well, Broken Blade, even if he's a straight upgrade over Haunter, right? He's a foreigner, so he will take up an import slot. So you have to take that into consideration.
Yes.
I don't think
Because
they
it
can get
implies someone's going to get removed as well, right?
Yeah. So unless you get Licorice, right? There isn't like straight NA upgrade for Haunter. Like Licorice and Impact are the only two NA residents that I can think of that people might say is objectively better than Haunter.
Okay.
But TSM is not going to have access to either. TL and C9 are definitely going to hold on to their top laner. So if they go get Broken Blade, that means they're also replacing Mithy. Then who are you getting for support? And that means you are keeping Grignate or getting one of the NA junglers like Dardoch, Meteos, Xmithy. I don't think you're going to get Xmithy. So roster building becomes really weird when you remove a NA piece from TSM. I think most likely Broken Blade is going to go to the academy team and they're going to develop him. And while they develop like the NA jungle and maybe an NA support and C, so they have options for the future. But it's going to be hard to just straight replace Haunter with an import due to the roster building implications.
Okay.
Also,
That's kind of, yeah.
I do want to say that Broken Blade thing is actually legitimate because Parth followed the manager of Royal Bandits
Right.
and Broken Blade on Twitter. Like, people don't use Skype anymore, so when you want to reach out, you follow people on Twitter.
It's mad that that's a real thing. And I actually assumed, in the modern day that when people did that, it was purposely a troll. Like, Reggie's actually done it before in the offseason, follow some players. He's not going to, like, the fact that people actually do that and it's not, it's just they are trying to contact that guy. It's like, come on, there's got to be better ways, guys. We've got to have some back channels here, for fuck's sake.
It's the simplest way. It's most guaranteed
is.
to work. But you could definitely find that guy's manager.
Yes.
He probably has an email linked in
I
his
know,
bio.
exactly. Come on.
No,
Not least, here's the thing, especially that way around. Like, you're TSM. You're trying to contact some guy in the Turkish league. I'm pretty sure we can get you that contact, Toby. You don't have to what next? Like he doesn't have DMs open. Path has to do like the so and so. Follow up a DM, please. It's like, how far are we gonna go with this?
You know what's up when Parth follows you. When Parth with a blue check mark follows you, you know what's up. But also, the most hilarious thing was after Parth followed Broken Blade and people made Twitter posts about it, he went and followed people like Schalke Upset and a bunch of EU players, and I feel
to try and cover up.
I think it has to be cover up because why would they want Upset
Exactly.
over Sven? So I'm like, okay, this is Parth playing cover up, but the Broken Blade thing is real for sure.
Wait a minute, Loco, because you say that. Why would they want Path over Zen? And why would you want Upset over Zen? Sven, there we go. Because his name does have a Z, so I was getting confused there in my own brain somehow. But the reason why that is actually maybe not a total cover-up, though, is because remember, they have to remove a European. So presumably, it's either Sven or Mithy. Now, everyone assumes because Sven looked better, it's Sven, and, people heard these stories. Mithy doesn't seem like he's, loving life as much in TSM. Sven seems very happy. But is it not possible there's a world in which they take Upset? Like, he was actually a pretty highly rated player in Europe, and it's really his first big year. So maybe if Mithy scouted him and says he's going to be the next big thing, maybe that's a real thing. Maybe Sven's going to Astralis. It's not impossible.
Possible, but I think Sven's really on the younger side because we know of him forever. But
Sure.
he's pretty young. I think he's
Yes.
20-ish, 21-ish. He looks hella old and tall. Everyone thinks he's older because he's so tall, and he's got that receding European headline.
Yes.
But he's on the young side and he's really good. I don't buy into it at all. not 100%,
Yes.
but 99%
There's
sure
hyperbole,
that
we get it. Yeah.
Upset will not take the Ben spot.
Yeah.
I also think
I like the way Loco went. Listen, obviously it'd be ridiculous. I'm not 100. I'm 99%. It's it's the same hyperbole, Loco. You don't actually mean 100%, obviously. Yeah. You mean 75%. It's a pretty good chance. Okay, Mark, what do you think? Is it obvious that Mithy's the guy that gets replaced?
I think if you're clearing up an import slot, yes, he's the one you obviously have to look at. I think also you should look at how replaceable they are based off talent. Like Loco was saying, Haunter's actually pretty hard to replace with NA talent, but I don't know how true that is for Mithy. You have is Smoothie available? He got traded around a little bit. What's going on with Echo Fox? They seem like they're exploding, and so you could maybe pick up some people like that. Adrian's technically available, but I don't think he's a culture fit or anything that they'd want to do. But I think there is more talent at the support position that they could look at than top lane or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you want me to throw out? This is pure speculation, brother. I don't have any inside context. I'm just speculating and spitballing an idea here. So remember, the coach of TSM is
Zix.
Zix.
Yeah.
So why doesn't Zix just bring over his boy Darshan and Biofrost? Boom. Boom goes the dynamite. You like that?
Zeke doesn't own Darshan or Biofrost's contract. Why would CLG let go of Biofrost?
You told me in the last episode that the solo laners might change in CLG.
Yes, but I never mentioned Biofrost, and also Darshan is not an upgrade for Haunter. It's a side grade, and I still think Haunter is slightly better. I think arguably it's a side grade, but I think Haunter is better. So
No,
why would
but my
TSM downgrade?
Because my logic there would be that Zix might not think Haunts is that good, and Zix is like, well, I've worked with Darshan, I think he's good, and he could do what we need here. You know, the Biofrost one is on the logic of TSM has more money than CLG. It's whether or not they want to leave. Like, I think we're getting to the point now where it'll be like real sports. Like, I don't know if you know this, Local, but in real sports, if a big name player just says he wants to leave, they almost always get to do it. Like, the team eventually just goes, well, if you don't want to be here, let's facilitate the deal. Like, let's make it happen. You know, it's very rare that the team goes, no, we have your contract. Like, you can't leave. Like, usually they do make it happen. You know, I know what you mean. Like in the old days, especially, you could just say, well, fuck off. Like, I'm your boss. You know, but I think that will like soften over time. What about this then? For either of you, why is it so difficult then? Because on the one hand, right, we're saying it like, oh, but what NA talent could they get? Well, you always have to make a team with some NA players. And in theory, TSM is one of the most OP teams because Bjergsen's counted as an NA resident. So they can have 3 imports. So how can they not get together 3 good imports and 2 NA players? What's holding them back? Are all the good players taken? What do you think?
Well, they fucked up in 2018 and they fucked up in 2018 where they let one of their best NA players go in Doublelift. And also Biofrost was a very serviceable support with a good future and a lot of growth potential. So I think letting go of Biofrost and Doublelift were a huge mistake for TSM. So they had good NA pieces and they were strong as an NA team. But now they don't have those good NA pieces, and the other teams that have them aren't going to let them go. TL will never let go of Doublelift. CLG will never let go of Biofrost.
And I also
What do you
wonder
think,
how much.
Mark? Do you think these teams, like, okay, the TL one I get because they're winning, you know, but you think CLG just won't let these players go or you can't get out? What's your take on it?
Well, I think one of the things that helped TSM get all those kind of like really good NA players like Haunter going from Gravity to TSM and that kind of stuff, and the reason that they could always kind of steal great talent from other teams was because they were fucking TSM and they had the biggest fan base and they made the most money and everyone knew them and everyone kind of wanted to play for TSM on some level. But now that is kind of shattered where it's like they arguably are not nearly as popular as they were before. They don't seem to be pushing league content quite as heavily as they were before. Like, numbers are slowing down on social media. There's less incentive to go to TSM for those reasons. Financially, there's a ton of investors at other teams now who can easily match or overpay for you. TSM's also not winning anymore. So like this, like, oh, I'm going to go join this juggernaut and be a beast is gone as well. So I think a lot of the things that allowed them to easily secure NA talent in the past doesn't quite hold true as much right now.
So if there is a world in which Haunter does actually get kicked out, you know, like you said, Broken Blade doesn't just go to Academy or something. They literally replace Haunter and presumably don't just bench him. Is there a team that would be a good fit for Haunter? What would you speculate? This doesn't have to be like a move that would happen. It's like, you know, it would be a good move.
I think so. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with Clutch, but like if I took Clutch last year when they were performing well and put Haunter on it, I think they'd be a great team then because they're a team that needed some aggression in the early game, didn't really have it. Haunter destroyed Solo a couple times. They matched up, and so like that's a team. But like I assume Clutch Gaming's exploding based off everything we heard about Febby and the rest of the team's like attitude towards the end of the year. All of them seem mental boom. Lero's mental boom. So I don't know.
Wait, Haunter has hella teams he could go to. I think he's the 3rd best native NA top. So like you get Licorice, arguably better.
Man alive, how many caveats are we going to give there? That's like, oh, he's the cutest Denny's waitress. It's like 3rd best NA top. Fucking. I get what you're saying, but come on.
He's the 3rd best NA top, like, because NA top, there's so many imports right now. So like Someday, Flame, Impact is no longer import, but he was an import. So like when you think best NA tops, you think a lot of import. But after like Licorice, I think Haunter is the best native NA top. Who do you have that's better?
Oh, I don't think there's many that in NA. Like, here's the thing: if you're going to go with an NA player, I would say, unless you can get someone like Deshaun, you just go and you get a rookie. Like, because the angle I don't buy local. I mean, I alluded to it earlier, but I mean, whatever. Maybe you guys disagree. Is like I've never thought the angle of like, well, this guy was so good last year, therefore this year he'll be that good. That doesn't work in League of Legends. Like the game changes every season. In fact, players' performance pretty much tends to go up every single split or go down. You know, like there's very few players are good for like 3 years in a row. Like those are like you can count them on one hand pretty much. So when someone like Darshan, everyone now will go, how would we get Darshan? Like he's had many years where he's a really good player. Meanwhile, like same with Hauntzer. What one bad year? Where by the way, the whole team had times that were bad. Like. What, that just means he's on the scrap heap now and suddenly he can never be good again. Like, I don't think of it myself as like, here's like my tier list, you know, and I've got to get like, oh, if I've got number 3, I've got to replace him with number 2 and number 1. I think you just do it based on what you think of the player. Like, okay, this player next season, if we has a better team, we have better chemistry, better setup, better coach, then we get better result, you know. And so, in fact, actually, that might even be the genius move. You're signing a guy that everyone else thinks, he's not that big a deal, you know. And in your team, he's going to be sick, you know. It's always hard to gauge how a player is going to change from team to team, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Do you want to move on to another team?
Okay. You could have just said a team yourself, but okay. Right. What about the
CLG?
Yeah. What about the aforementioned CLG? Because obviously they've lost their coach. They've got. We won't make any sort of wisecracks. They've got another coach. We'll just say that. There we go. We'll be polite for once, shall we? There you go, Weldon. You get that one for free. Yeah, you get
I was
that
on
one
a
for
show with him last night. Can't flame him today.
So I heard a summary of the Weldon on being Hotline League, the second best League of Legends show after Listen Loco.
Yes.
There's one episode.
Still better.
We're already the best.
Exactly. I know. You know.
Anyway,
that's not an argument.
So I didn't actually get to watch the show, but someone's Risen Lazarus, whatever his name is, summed it up as
Risen Lazarus.
Risen Lazarus. He summed it up
Yes.
as that Weldon was deflecting blame on when CLG was doing badly with him, and that he said if they never fired him, that they would have done better. Did he actually say stuff like that on the show?
Someone asked him what he thought about some of the high-profile players that left CLG and like what his take was on some of those decisions, and if like he had a similar approach to that kind of stuff. And he was saying he thought those decisions were all really dumb, and if he was there, he wouldn't have let them happen probably. And so he was saying like kicking Double If, Po Belter, letting Afro go, whatever those kinds of ones he was saying he thought were really dumb. So I don't know how much of that was deflecting. Just saying, I think it was more like he was disagreeing, but I don't know exactly what Risen Lazarus is referencing because I think that's what he's talking about.
Okay. Fair enough.
Right.
What do you think then, Mark? What does CLG do?
I think they're in a really weird spot. Like, I'm like they've been trending pretty badly for the last 2 years, basically, and they just got rid of what was a lot of people consider one of the best coaches in North America, and yeah, they just got rid of one of the best coaches in North America.
Yeah, one of.
One that's still coaching.
There we go. Narrowed it down.
Yeah, I think I don't know like what their plans are, because I think Zix I talked to on Hotline League as well, and he said that I asked him as politically correctly as I could if he thought player skill was ever an issue with that team. He basically said yes. Like they felt like
player.
Of course it was an issue.
Yeah, but I mean,
but normally coaches don't say that though, do they? They go, no, we just messed up something in the game.
When you're on the team, you can't be like, my players suck, dude. When I was on the team and Dyrus, Lustboy, and Turtle were struggling, I can't ever be like, we have 4 wars and Bjergsen. I have to be like, I believe in my team.
This was like 3 weeks after he left, so he was still really close to them, obviously. But like, I think that's a problem, is that like there's a legitimate player skill issue on this team that you need to find upgrades. And like you can say Wiggly's an upgrade, which is good. I think he is someone who should take over for sure over for Rainover, who, as great as he is at early game pathing and getting leads, you can't trust him with any leads because he'll make mechanical mistakes. And so, yeah, make him a coach or something. Put him on the academy team. Make him a positional coach. I don't know, but you need to start getting better individual players. And I think the Soul Laners, the only thing I like about them right now is their bot lane.
Yeah, I agree 100% with Mark, and I agree with Mark that Wrigley is probably going to start. Wrigley is one of the best NA pieces that CLG has access to, and there's no reason they should slow down his development with Rainover struggling. So a little bird told me that Wrigley is one of the most asked for pieces on CLG. A lot of people are asking for Wrigley if he's available. So he is very hotly contested. And unless Wrigley will start in LCS. I think it will be on CLG, or if he doesn't start for CLG, I think he'll start for another team.
Wait a minute, I've got to ask you a question here, Loco. Just a minute ago, you were using the logic of like, well, that's not an upgrade. Why would I do a move that's not an upgrade? So this guy's never even fucking played, and you're already going to put him in the league over Rainover, your beloved Rainover.
know,
You're cool with having like
but-
2 years being garbage. That you apparently it's fine for him to just suck dick in CLG for 2 years, and you're just giving him passes like, well, it's not his fault. Hooney's not above him in the map. Like, I don't know what your angle is on why he's okay. So why is that
God.
okay?
I hate the show sometimes because I have to say bad things about my friend, but Rainover hasn't performed, and the only excuse I could provide is his solo laners for the last 2 years were weak. It was
Sure.
Lorlo, Golden Glue, Darshan, and Huhi, where Rainover functioned best with hard carries like Huni.
Yeah.
But
Sounds like
Yeah,
he's
I
not
mean-
that great a player. He just needs like very specific teammates, or he can't do anything.
he's a very good supportive piece, and he's a very good enabler.
Okay.
But Mark's right. Like mechanically, he has declined a lot. Especially, I see him make dumb mistake, get caught out, and mid 2v2 being super important, top 2v2 being super important. Rainover does suffer a lot. His early pathing's good, I agree, but yeah, like, Wrigley has just shown a lot of potential. And I actually did get to interview Wrigley when I was on GG because our Golden Guardians, because he was one of the pieces I was looking at, and he aced the interview. He was so good in the interview. He answered questions really well. He had a great mindset. And also, a funny fact, after he was let go from Cloud9, he came over to visit one of my roommates, Tanner, and I actually got to talk to him, and he had a really good mindset, and he seemed really hungry. So, that's me watching Wrigley from
Okay.
a distance and few personal interactions. Anyone that's worked with him is going to have a more accurate and a better analysis on him, and it's
Yes.
just going to be very high tier. So,
So
Well, I, for one, really look forward to Wrigley going down the traditional path of NA talent junglers, of coming in really hot out of solo queue, having a great attitude, having a carry mentality, and being broken about 4.5 weeks into the split, and then just becoming a wreck, and eventually either getting replaced or, I don't know, join TSM or something. Whatever the path is at that point. Come on, Mark, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that is the career trajectory. I was going to say I've heard that Wiggly is a little bit of a rager, but in a
He is.
good in a good way, where like he brings some conflict to a team.
no.
You think it's straight bad way?
There's no way a Razor is good. There's no way. That's someone being nice. That's like Mark is an asshole, but he's our asshole. Like you're just straight up an asshole, but because you're my friend.
Asshole by being
You're my friend. I want to like
by being
protect you.
argumentative.
yeah, come on, dude. There's definitely players that rage that are very good players.
They're very good, but if you can have someone be vocal and someone bring up discussions without being a rager, you would of course rather have that. over
Dude, what
being
kind
a
of mad
rager.
straw man is that? That's like saying, oh yeah, if I could just have a girl who's like got great tits, amazing ass, like, she loves to give head all the time, and you know what? She's not even demanding or high maintenance. She doesn't even want any like fancy dresses or nice meals. Like, I'd rather take that, wouldn't you? And like, like great home cooking. It's like, yeah, obviously, but no one can just fucking tick all the fucking boxes, can they? Like, you have to take certain trade-offs to get certain things, Loco, like that ass.
Oh my god.
So get to the fucking diamond shop and start buying that goods. Because listen, it comes out of a diamond mine, because that's how you get to mine them diamonds. Right? Anyway, keep going. Right, go on. Let's bring it back. Bring it back.
Mark, you can finish your point.
I was gonna say I am not a representative of Riot.
No.
I have no
Yes.
thoughts on that
Nope.
analogy.
No,
I
no,
think
skip over that. Keep going.
yeah, I think Wiggly is a great player, and I think even if he has some attitude problems, I think he's definitely worth the risk. And I think CLG should hold on to him, because Rainover, even if you want to start Rainover at the start of the year to maybe give him a chance with better soul laners, like you need the backup plan of Wiggly.
Yeah.
The other part as well, I think people never mention with Rainover is, like, it's also clear to me, if he's such an intelligent player, it's like, give him a fucking Korean player to play with.
Give him strong solo lanes. What are we doing with?
I
all
mean,
these
come on, it's
supportive players?
CLG. Who are they going to get, mate? Like, at this point, it's hard for CLG to get any players, isn't it?
I mean, so CLG management, you guys fucked up with Doublelift, Pobelter, Aframu,
Yes.
Xmeti, Tony. You have a chance to redeem yourself. If I see Wrigley start on a different team, then CLG as a brand, just burn it all down. Burn it all down and start over. Just burn it all down and start over.
Okay.
Wrigley, Biofrost, Stixay are their last shot at like golden age and redeeming CLG as a brand. They need to hold on to these players like they're fucking gold mines. Because for CLG, like if they lose any of those three players and they have to get new NA players, I think they're gonna suffer so much.
Well, here's the thing, though, Loco. Speaking of the aforementioned move where CLG kicked out Paul Belter and instead went with Hui as their mid laner for Season 6. That came after they won the LCS, but then they went to Worlds, had a really disappointing Worlds. People felt like Paul Belter didn't perform internationally. Oh, what do you know? Over on Team Liquid, they won LCS. They went to Worlds. People thought Paul Belter didn't have a great Worlds. The rumours are perhaps Paul Belter is exiting Team Liquid. What do you think?
Definitely possible. If I was Team Liquid, I would say the two positions I look at the most are Pobelter and Ole. And rumors are TL tried to reach out to Faker again.
Why not?
This is becoming a yearly meme, like TL reaching out to Faker. I can't, just from like SKT's point of view, they're probably like, dude, China's offering us 100 million. I know you guys are Golden State Warriors, but you're not RNG rich, you're not IG rich, you're not EDG rich. Just like fuck off. Like, we're fucking SK Telecom. If you wanted to pay Faker, we'll pay Faker. Like, it has to be ridiculous from SKT's point of view.
You think that Steve for SK Telecom is like those guys who haven't had much luck with women, and then they meet one in a club, and they manage to like get through the first 10 minutes of the conversation. She gives him his number, and then when she gets home like 4 a.m. that night, you've got like 37 missed calls, and it's like, but on their SK Telecom phone, it's like Steve at 9:04 a.m. Like, fuck, come on, what the fuck? I haven't even talked to you yet. Like, he's just going way too ham for this.
Is that from personal experience?
Listen, Loco, some of us started out awkward, but eventually graduated to becoming sort of sociable people, It's okay. I believe in your transformation. You're like the pupae ready for the beautiful butterfly to emerge. At that point, basically, Loco, I'm waiting for you to come out. At that point in time,
turn into Monte Cristo.
Exactly. I want you to become the successful version of Monte Cristo. That's my dream for you, to reference the old joke there. Yes, exactly.
Well,
no, what about...
I have to commend Steve for like actually trying, but I think
why not?
Ridiculous.
I agree with what you said on the last episode. If there's even a 1% chance they do it, why not go for it? It's worth giving it a shot, because every now and then you get a crazy move that comes out like that. That probably even the person making the offer didn't think they were going to accept. What do you think, Mark? Paul Belter. I mean, obviously that team. They do seem like a team where it's not cliched just because of the results to say like they're a good team to be built to win and do well in NA, but are they ever going to do well internationally? I think most people would say there may be a player or two's off in that one. So is Paul Belter one of those players for you?
Yeah, I think so. He's not someone who needs another shot or like, nerves or something like that. He's been to so many international competition at this point, and almost always is a little disappointing at best. Like, and then at worst is getting blown up and like has to play Malzahar or something. So I think there's enough talent in the mid lane pool internationally, and with Impact becoming a non-import player, that you should go look for an international upgrade over Pobelter. I think Caps is on the market technically this year.
Okay. I mean, EU mids have to be considered, right? That's an obvious place you could recruit from.
I think EU mids would be who you would prefer. But like if you could get a Korean mid or even maybe a Chinese, like I don't know, probably Korean.
I'll tell you one that for some people might seem out of left field if you haven't been following this news, because I know LMS isn't very popular, but as far as I know, I believe it was said that Maple is leaving Flash Wolves. So What about that? I think actually he has decent English as far as I know. I think I've seen an interview with him.
If he has decent English, then he is like maybe a risk worth taking, but he's not. How is he going to adapt to NA? How is he going to be like not living in Taiwan and like not playing with a fully Taiwanese team? I think there's a lot of risks involved. But TL is very uniquely in a great position because they just need one or two pieces. Ole is serviceable. They could not replace Ole and be fine, but I think Ole is an import, and if they could get someone even better, they should also. But TL is in a position where they could take a European mid and they'd be able to incorporate him well. They also picked up the Fnatic scouting analyst, by the way. So maybe if they wanted, he would know a lot about it.
So maybe they want like to get some European players in that sense.
Mm-hmm. And also, TL is in a very good position to pick up a Korean player. They have Impact, speaks Korean. Ole speaks Korean. Dodo speaks Korean English. Kane speaks Korean. Like, Double played with Koreans all his life. So
can you think of any Koreans who they might be able to get?
Not Faker. Not BDD.
Not you,
I
Cal.
mean, the obvious joke would be just get Kuro, the Korean Pobelter. That would be the obvious one. Like.
That would be an upgrade, but that would be a very, very expensive,
of course,
little teeny beeny upgrade. They need to like upgrade a lot. Like they need to like shoot up. for Team Liquid, if they can't get like a mega upgrade over Pobelter, I think the best thing they do is keep Pobelter.
Okay.
Because it's gonna get really expensive if you don't keep Pobelter. Like, who are you exchanging Pobelter for? Like, Power of Evil? Like,
Depends
that's
how
like-
much money you've got. Like, I mean, this is another just spitball idea here. But if you have mad money, I'm gonna go ahead and guess Griffin doesn't have much money, mate. So unless they all just decide to stay together, the fucking mid laner of that team looked pretty legit.
I mean,
Like Chovy
they-
or whatever his name was.
Yeah, Chovy.
Yeah.
He did
I
seem
mean,
pretty legit when I saw him play.
they look like they're staying together, and if
Okay.
anything, Chovy would go to another Korean team, and he hasn't had like success yet, so he's probably in the hungry, thirsty mode, not money mode. So
Right, if he's in the thirsty mode, come to NA. We can hook you up, brother. Listen, we can
who
open your
was-
eyes, homie.
Who was the mid laner for that challenger team in Korea? Dawon Life or whatever that's
K1
supposed to be.
Gaming,
Just,
I have no idea.
so
Was he
I don't know.
good?
I haven't seen him. It's just the rumors that
Oh, right.
you know that they were one of the best teams in Korea in the challenger scene. Like people screaming them got obliterated.
Right.
And so I don't know who their mid laner is, but maybe that's someone you can try and snatch up really fast before he gets off the ground.
So before like it goes like crazy out of control, like I want to curb the rumor on Day One being like an like fucking top tier LCK team. Day One, so they were beating Fnatic and Scrims a lot. Not from just Reckless, I think, like even leading up to finals. And Griffin was also beating Fnatic a lot, by the way, too. These teams, when they're scrimming them like, at Worlds, like Day One and Griffin, all they're trying to do is beat Fnatic much as possible. And what Fnatic's trying to do is get the best practice possible. They're not there to beat Griffin. They're not there to beat Day One. Like, they're just trying to practice. So, of course, when you're prepping for C9 and you're prepping for IG and Griffin and Day One are just trying to beat you, you're going to lose a lot. So I think Griffin is legitimate,
Yeah.
but there's so much credit given to Day One just off of Reckless's words, and they haven't shown
Yes.
anything yet. So
To be fair,
It's
I
like
talked
back
to
in the day
Licorice.
when TSM used to go to Worlds, and they were just getting all those scrim wins off all the Korean teams, and the Korean team was like, oh, we're just trying to practice and get scrims. Like, these guys are trying us so fucking hard.
sorry, Mark, go ahead.
I was gonna say Licorice said he scrimmed them as well, and they were really good. He was saying that for semis they played Griffin, Dawon, and IG, and just got fucking obliterated every scrim they played by all three teams.
I think we can give them like a mini check mark, but I don't want to say like they are legit until they get to show things, at least on the stage. Like, this is a team that hasn't even played an LCK yet. Why are we giving them so much credit?
Yeah, I was just saying if you're trying to recruit international talent, maybe you fly this guy over or something for a weekend and scrim with him as TL if you can.
Yeah, that's.
I know.
that's
I mean, why would you want to recruit people who haven't even played an LCK yet when fucking Wiggly's on the market? Let's get him. If we don't get Wiggly, we have to burn the whole franchise down. Shut it down. CLG means nothing anymore. Fucking hell.
I'm gonna
Are you
defend,
for real?
Like, I'm gonna defend my strong point on Wiggly, and I do think he's gonna be a legitimate player. So you can make fun of me,
wait.
but I'll make fun of you back.
Well, I mean, you just didn't defend it. You just made an assertion, which is like, I'm going to defend my point by saying he will be a good player. That's
He
it, really.
already
Case-
shown he
case
is a
closed.
good player in Academy. Oh my god.
My mistake, sir.
He played two
Uh,
games at the end of the split too.
So
Didn't
wait a
know.
minute. The argument really was Loco that he looked really good in academy play in NA,
And
but-
also in LCS play,
Yeah.
as Mark mentioned, in the last two games. And when I
Two
talked to him
games.
personally, And when I talked to him personally, just as like a
Right.
friend, he was very good in terms of
Okay.
his mindset.
That's
And
an
when I
intangible,
interviewed
though.
him- When
That's
I
an
inter-
intangible.
I mean, intangible plus skill equals good player. Do the math.
That's not maths. That's again just a weird sort of like principle you came up with now. It's not like maths
What?
would check out on a calculator. I could do
Players-
it. Yeah, go on.
It's oh my god, Thorin. Players with good
Yeah.
intangibles and
Go on,
good
then.
skills turn
Yeah.
into good players. That's just simple, basic like addition.
It isn't because you haven't proven the intangibles yet. You've just said.
Oh yeah,
like,
sure.
You also haven't proven he's a good player. So basically, you haven't proven anything. So 0 plus 0 equals maybe a lot if it's actually not 0, but it's like 10. That's like your math right there. So anyway, moving on from Loco's math sessions to more opinions that actually aren't maths and don't check out in some mad condescending manner. You really are the new Monte Cristo, but yeah, less successful. So that's your curse. You should have never brought that up because it's going to follow you now forever. So
well-
anyway, let's move on to another team that is cursed, and we'll have that curse follow them forever. 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves. Now, this is a team where, okay, yes, they had this situation where they traded out Meteos, and that seemed to make them take a hit, even though actually Anded played decently, but obviously he's not Meteos. Then you had the scenario with Cody Sun. and Rikara and people like what's going on here, and we've never fully gotten the full story on that, even when Prolly's addressed it later on. Still a team that had some good results. So what do we do to salvage this team? And what will happen to salvage this team? Do you have any speculation on this, Mark? Or just a theory craft?
I don't know what their plans are, but it's really weird because if they don't like Cody's son, you're not going to get any of the players who were better. Like Cody's pretty good, all things considered, for the North American scene. Like you have Double F better than him, Sneaky better than him, and Sven better than him, I'd say. But you're not getting Stixxay is, I would say, streakier because like sometimes Stixxay is just being a fucking idiot and like chain feeding sometimes. I don't feel
Cody doesn't chain feed.
Cody, like when he ints, it's like a big random team fight. It's not in lane. He's not like a lane enter like Stixxay is.
Inting in team fight is much more impactful than inting in lane. No,
I don't know. They're both bad. I'm not saying like this. I'm just saying that like Cody will get his farm, he'll get his items, and he'll put out big damage almost all the time. It's just whether or not he like flashes in the wrong direction. Whereas like Stixxay will just either just explode or carry. It's like more like that for me. So I don't think Stixxay is definitively better than Cody.
Another one, Apollo.
Apollo is worse, I think, than Cody.
Really, even considering the consistency.
Yeah, I think he's really, really consistent. He also like just doesn't have big contribution to team fights. Like Cody on 100 Thieves, a lot of the time in Spring Split was like their primary guy. You know, like this is where all of our damage is going to come from mid late game. They have like these big fat meatball comps around Cody, and they won a lot.
You set up. I mean, you're putting him in position to succeed. You have Afro. Like Afro is like kingmaker. Like Afro double left, Afro Stixxay, now Afro Cody's son.
Right. I agree, and I'm saying you can't do that with Apollo. And like 100 Thieves right now don't have any carry threats. Like for whatever reason, they have shown that they will not play around someday. Like this was the best Worlds meta since like 2015 to play around your top laner, and they didn't play around their top laner for some reason. They refused to do it. And then Ryu, you're not going to carry through him, so you need someone in the bot lane, and I don't think Apollo's that guy. So maybe on some teams Apollo's a better match, but like not for 100 Thieves.
Okay. Well, I don't think they play it around someday because I think overall just the team strategy and what they had the most success was play bot side oriented and play a slow, like medium paced game instead of someday carry and a split push 1-3-1.
Yeah, but then they put it in Rikara, and then it's like, what are you doing? You don't have that like, even if you think Cody Sun's a little bit of a thrower, like at least that was your plan. Now Rikara can't even get out of laning phase.
So one thing that Doran mentioned on the past episode is something called team color. It's basically like the identity of your team. And barring a little bit of period with Afromu on CLG where they ran a lot of 1-3-1 comps, I think every team Afro has been on, the primary team color has been bottom oriented, hyper carry, mid and late game. So I think Afro is a huge voice on that team, and he's going to have a big impact on how the team plays. And I think that's why they kind of strayed away from playing someday. Just pure speculation, though.
Yeah, I'd buy into that because at the start of the split, he was playing a lot of Jax and random stuff and was doing really well. And then come Worlds, it's like Scion duty when everyone else is playing carries. So I don't know what was going on.
Okay. Here's the thing, though. Do you actually... Okay, Local, what do you think on that? Do they actually make moves? Like,
I think someday...
Is this a squad that will do it?
Someday's future on 100 Thieves is a little bit weird because 100 Thieves, like, they're a brand where I feel like they actually have big plans and they want they are going to grow bigger and bigger. And I don't think they can really grow around Someday and Ryu, the imports they have. They're very, like, boring and not even, like, I would say, like, absolute top class. Actually, hard to say for Someday. Someday is absolute top class in NA, and he did match up well versus Koreans when he did play in Korea, so maybe he is, but personality-wise, like, Nadeshot is like a big personality, Prolly is a big personality. Like, I would imagine they want someone that's more NA, that speaks English. Like, Someday I feel like is a band-aid for them, and I think Someday also likes Korea a little bit better. Like, he still tweets a lot in Korean, and he appreciates Korean fans a lot, and I remember him receiving gift and having a very heartfelt tweet towards Korean fans, so I think Someday's heart is also in Korea, so I probably see Someday going back. And the only player I know for a fact they'll keep is Afro. Everyone else I think is up for grabs for 100 Thieves. They're a very big question mark to me, and I think they're probably the team where if they see a big NA piece open, they'll make a big bid and grab that big NA piece. So like when we talked about Hanser, right? If TSM gets rid of Hanser and they use Broken Blade for their main team, I can see Hanser going to 100 Thieves. If CLG makes a bad decision and they let go of Wiggly, I can see Wiggly going to 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves are the team with like their checkbook like ready to sign the next big NA piece, but I don't think they're married to their imports at all.
Okay. That's the thing, though. If Someday's available, like, first of all, why doesn't he just go to a Korean team? I'd love to see him on SK Telecom. There's a great move. Or if he's available, why not? Why isn't he considered for TSM? If you're going to bring in another import.
TSM's not in a great position to handle Korean imports at the moment, I don't think. They only have Lustboy as a facilitator. And, they also do have Simon Hebentime as a translator, but I don't think a Korean import would do very well in the current TSM atmosphere.
Right, there's one more team. Assuming Cloud9 doesn't make changes, which it doesn't really seem like they're going to at the moment. So, like, does anyone think they are?
The only thing is I could see someone overextending their pocketbook for Golden Glue, but that's about it.
Yeah. Have at it. I mean, I don't know that we're going to wake up. Jack wakes up in the morning, phone's ringing. Oh, who's this? You're not going to believe this. Get out of bed. Golden Glue's gone. He's gone for big money. Wait a minute. We've received big money for Golden Glue. Oh, God, he wants to go as well. Like fake tears coming out of his. I love him so much. He's so swollen. He did have those 2 good games. Yes, I accept. Thank you. Right, yeah. Back to sleep. 5 minutes later, like, I don't think he's going to be losing any sleep over that one.
C9's actually in the position that TSM used to be, where players will take pay cuts to play on that team due to the success and due to the culture and like how everyone loves being on C9. I can see Svenskeren and Golden Glue, anyone on their roster, get better offers, but choose to stay on C9 because of C9 is family. C9 is like everyone loves each other and they have huge success. So
yeah,
C9 is that team now instead of TSM where people take pay cuts to be on C9.
Fair enough. Let's see. So do you think they actually make any move, Loco, if you had to guess?
I can't see C9 getting worse, and I don't think they'll make any moves. Like, all their pieces are solid. Zazel, going to play forever. Licorice, going to play forever. Sneaky and Jensen, core to the brand. Jungle, maybe, if they can get a good jungle piece, but I don't see where they get a better jungle piece.
I think also, like, you could see some movement for, like, their academy players. Like I said, other people buying them out. So if someone wants Blabber, someone wants Golden Glue, I think C9 would be willing to part with them and like use scouting grounds, and because they feel pretty confident about raising talent, I could see them moving some of them away. But I think that's not them wanting to do that. That's just them accepting like good offers. So I don't think they're motivated at all.
No, I will say that's one aspect that if you look at like the track record, I think actually someone like Jack has shown that, because he's done it, by the way, in both CSGO and in Overwatch with his London Spitfire team, where if there's a good player and they say to him, like, I actually want to leave, like, I want to go elsewhere. So in this case, it'd be even more appealing, because they'd be saying, look, listen, I like the team, but I don't want to be a bench player, you know, like, I want to be a starter in the LCS, so can I please go to this team where they'll pay a lot for me? I could see a world in which he accepts that, because he actually basically did that in the Overwatch League. He had, like, the 2 best tank players. I won't go into a whole lot with this, but he had the 2 best tank players, and he actually gave one of them away to, like, another team that he didn't think at the time was a rival. They weren't that great. It was the LA Gladiators. But this guy was so good, he was a player called Fisher, that he actually made that team very, very good. So a lot of people would look back now and say that was risky, but I actually think that's just the philosophy Jack has, which is like, if you're a really good player, I'm not just going to like put you in bench prison and be like, you know, unless you can win the starting spot, you just have to stay on my team forever. You know, I will facilitate the move if you really want. But then that's probably more on them.
Even with Smoothie, like, he could have just sat on Smoothie the rest of the year and gone between Zazel and Smoothie, but, you know, a trade deadline, he gave Smoothie the Echo Fox because probably didn't want to just...
But it's sold.
Yeah, I mean, sold,
yes.
But it was making a pretty legitimate rival at the time arguably better. So I think you can see that he's motivated to allow the players a chance to play.
No, Jack seems like a very confident and a secure person. Like, the kind of moves he makes is, I'm the best owner and we provide the best environment. We'll take money for it and we'll raise new talent. It's very confident and a secure mindset to have.
Plus, if you go elsewhere and you start doing shit, maybe like privately, he's actually secretly mean and he just sends you a picture of like them in the LCS finals. Like, this could be us, but you playing. Just do some shit like that. The old meme. I brought that one back. It's only about a year old, that one, wasn't it? Maybe a couple. I don't know. Don't keep up on Instagram. Right. Let's move on then. So a team, there's not many teams left that were like top teams. I'm doing like air quotes when I say that in NA, but one that obviously was highly contentious and contended for the LCS title was Echo Fox. Like both splits they were in. Yeah, they never made the finals, but they were always a team that was considered to be good and people thought they could go far. Right? Echo Fox clearly in the summer split had their problems, and most people think even the good, because okay, Huni in theory was supposed to be the best player on the team. A lot of people are very critical of him. Echo Fox, is it right to suggest that they're going to make a bunch of moves?
Man, one thing I want to say is when Echo Fox started doing well and fans were like, I knew this roster would work out. I knew none of these players were problematic. Like, and they were giving credit to Echo Fox for like Echo Fox, like coaches were saying stuff like, we went to house parties and we saw how these players interacted with each other and we thought they would be a great fit. So we put them on the team. I thought that reasoning was
yeah,
freaking ridiculous.
intangibles are bullshit. Like intangibles plus good players do not equal. Like you know, what are you thinking, idiot Echo Fox coach? Why don't you just coach the fucking
that's
game?
Synergy. That's not intangibles. Like,
He's actually literally just using a middle management term that was invented like 15 years ago for like conferences.
Oh my
It's synergy. Come on,
Alignment.
Come on. Yes,
Does-
bring it back, Loco.
the show is called Listen Loco, so instead of attacking you, I will just listen. Anyways, like I thought the reasoning was ridiculous, and I think the safe bet was to say Echo Fox would blow up, and they did blow up. What about for them next split? I don't know what happens. Dardoch's a good piece. Huni seems like he checked out. Demonte is not a future piece. Demonte was a good holdover piece when they didn't want to pay Phoenix and Altec tons of money anymore. So they're in a really good place. They have two people they can build around, Dardoch and Smoothie. I don't think Lost is a good piece they can build around, and they should get an NAAD. And they need to really check up on Huni and what he's going to be like the next year, because Huni seemed checked out in the later half of 2018. So in a really weird place for me.
The weirdest thing about time for Echo Fox for me is like, you want to assume people are like logical actors in some sense, but like I don't know if you can even say that about Echo Fox at this point with how much they've like jettisoned money, like to because it feels like they're having financial problems with like cutting their entire
Fighting game
community basically. Getting rid of all those players right at the trade deadline for what feel like were not upgrades but just cheaper options. They're in a really weird spot for me where you would say like, okay, you have a great NA jungler and support and a talented top laner. Go find one of those NA marksmen that we're talking about, like a Cody Sun, and then get an import like mid laner, and you should have a fucking great team. But like,
problem with that is like they do have Dardoch, and if I'm Dardoch, there's a clause in my contract that says you can't sign Cody Sun while I'm still on the team. Like I'm never going back to that again. Like I'll die before I go to prison again. Like please.
You know what would be super interesting for Echo Fox?
Come on.
They signed Piglet.
Why not?
Why
And
not?
then the first scrim, Piglet gets killed, and then Dardoch goes, "Bye, Piggy.
I
Bye,
don't know.
Piggy." There we go.
The thing about Echo Fox for me is they're so high risk right now with Josh and Smoothie being the only pieces. Like it's Huni, Josh, and Smoothie. So they're not going to be, I don't think they're going to have very hard time being a consistent team. Like just double up on the firepower and get Piglet.
I don't know. You can try and get a little bit more consistent players. Like Caps and Whippo were pretty fucking ham, and Reckless was like the safe linchpin in the bot lane. Like you can do a similar thing, I think, with Cody, who's not a super aggressive player in the early game, or even Apollo if you want to do that. Like I don't care.
Apollo would actually be a great fit on Echo Fox. Apollo would be like a good safety net for Josh's aggression, and Apollo's used to not getting played around, and Huni can play around top. Yeah, that's actually a really good
Yeah, but then don't you need a good mid laner?
Yeah, but like you can get PoE or someone else potentially.
Loco secretly low key thinks PoE is shit. I'm gonna go ahead and guess that. Is it true?
I don't think he's shit. I think he's overrated, and I just hate players that play off meta for the sake of playing off meta sometimes. And PoE seems like that kind of player.
You didn't like Move Speed Syndra?
No. Did you like Move Speed Syndra?
No. He didn't even take Celerity when he did it.
Like I think PoE, like I'm not gonna say he should just play standard because I know those type of players, they get a joy out of playing something different, and they also can surprise players by being different. It's just not the type of player I like coaching, and not the type of player I want to have on my team.
But you just said go all in with like the ham play style.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not what I would like to do if I was a coach of a team, but with the pieces that Echo Fox has, it seems like the best option for them. So yeah, get PoE, get Piglet.
I guess what I'd say is like for me, 100 Thieves feels like one of the team's best positioned to make good moves this offseason that we've gone over. But just given the org's track record, I have zero faith that it turns out well.
You said 100 Thieves, but you meant Echo Fox.
Oh,
right?
sorry, excuse me, Echo Fox. I feel like Echo
Okay.
Fox is in one of the best positions, but they won't.
Can you explain why? Because I don't think they have many pieces other than Smoothie and Dardoch.
You don't think Hooney is a decent piece?
What'd you think of him in late 2018? Don't you
Late
think he should-
2018, he was pretty shit. But I think he has shown over the course of the year that he is a really good player. And I think I always hate when players lose motivation and use that as an excuse for their skill drop off.
Mhm.
But like that team with all the trades going on, all the crazy stuff, like they feel like they mentally boomed, and maybe they're unfixable with Dardoch, Hooney, and Smoothie together. But from a talent perspective, like they're in a better position than 100 Thieves and CLG and arguably TSM for what they need to like make upgrades.
The pieces they have are, I think Smoothie is a really good core piece, and I think Josh is a really good core piece, and Josh needs a little bit more development, and he's going to be absolute top tier. But I heavily disagree with like the TSM. Like, would I rather have Zeben and Bjerg, or would I rather have Smoothie, Dardoch, and Hooney? I'd rather take Zeben, Bjerg anytime, any day.
Yeah, but
Um,
it's harder, I think, to improve from there because you have import slot restrictions with Mithy already in, whereas Echo Fox is free in import slot, and they need to
Sure.
get a marksman where there should be good marksmen on the market.
Okay. Maybe. I don't think they're gonna. I agree with you. Like there is some validity to them being in a good to an okay spot, but they're not gonna end up in a great spot at the end of things.
I don't think they will either because it doesn't feel like they have the money right now to like get a POE or get an import player, and they're gonna like limp.
The problem
duck
is though,
Fnatic.
Mark, here's the issue: is they are one of the teams that is not attending the scouting ground. You'd think a team that can't buy out the players would be going to the scouting grounds, right? It sounds like the way you should be going. That's the discount mark. Come on, let's go to the discount market, see what's like 99 cents. What's on offer today?
So to be fair, Weldon said that they actually were at scouting grounds. They're just not formally paired with any team because
Right.
they likely didn't respond in time, which is not a good look. But they're at least there.
Okay.
Okay, it's weird because Phoenix told me they're really good at hitting deadlines.
Yeah.
R.I.P. I love that word. Wait a minute. You know what? I'm for one moment. I'm going to be an avatar of the fans because fuck the idea that Loco hits on PoE, who, by the way, except for last year and that one brief time he was in Horihan, is pretty legit mid laner. And yes, he plays off meta, but actually, he's not like Keen. He doesn't just play off meta stuff stupidly. Like, he always had a logic to it, you know. It was like his playing style would be what the build would fit, you know. And yeah, no one else was doing it, but he knew how to play those champions, so they were comfort champions. Right, that guy at least has had like a consistent career and has had like some good highs. You're so high on Phoenix. I know you coached him, but man alive, you need to calm the fuck down on
Oh my
Phoenix. He's
God.
not some.
Oh
He
my
plays
God.
2 champions. He's played for
Wow.
5 years.
Wait. You think I'm high on Phoenix? Holy. So
You every single time you're like, he's mechanically incredible. They're laning on 2 champions, motherfucker. They're laning on 2
Alright,
champions.
sure. More local bombs. Damn, I'm gonna have to reveal a lot more than I thought I wanted to.
Okay, come on, son, hit me with it.
Phoenix was a ridiculous child to deal with on Goldcoin, and his attitude was one of the biggest reasons why we replaced him for Fly. Like, he wouldn't show up for practice. He made ridiculous demands. I don't want to go too much into detail, but the fact that I'm biased towards Phoenix is like just straight wrong. I give him a lot of credit for being incredibly mechanically good because I've seen him.
Incredibly.
Yeah, he's honestly mechanically like.
Right, wait a minute.
really
If he's
solid.
incredibly mechanically good, is he like a top 5 mechanical mid in the world?
Okay, so here's the thing about Phoenix. So even players like Jensen give Phoenix so much credit in terms of mechanics. So the most infuriating thing about coaching Phoenix was he just wouldn't listen and he would die to like dumbest stuff. Like, hey, Phoenix, at the 7-minute mark, you are constantly not warding this side and you keep hugging this side and you keep dying. Please make sure you buy pink wards. Please make sure you place the ward. And he doesn't do it. I would call him out on it and he would just raise at me and he would yell at me and he wouldn't improve certain aspects of his gameplay. Hey, Phoenix, when you split push, make sure you look at rest of the team. I don't like it when you coach me this way because it puts like
All right.
like it makes me like
Jesus.
feel pressured and then he would never fix his mistakes. So I will always give Phoenix for being incredibly mechanically skilled, but he's a hugely flawed player. Ask mid laners that play against Phoenix and ask them about how Phoenix is in lane. They'll say Phoenix is incredibly good in lane, but he's super easy to kill because he's really careless and he doesn't play wards. Like,
Did you ever clap back though? Like if he was like, listen, I don't like the way you're coaching me, you just tuck it. You're like, oh, okay.
So on Goldcoin United, I had equity in the team. So anytime I wanted to clap back at a player, like said to myself, "You're gonna be a fucking millionaire if you make LCS and we get into franchising. Just take
Jesus.
the insult. Just take the insult.
Okay,
Take the
yeah.
insult." And I'd be like, "Okay,
Yeah.
let me think about this."
So
You
I
were
also
like the gold digger who's like, well, I don't really like this old guy, but I do want a Ferrari, so fuck it, right? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, see you at dinner. Come on, Mark.
I coached with Phoenix for a year too, and it was pretty much the same story. Like, I legitimately tracked every time he warded, like in stuff in scrims, and would like point it out. And like even if you fixed it for like 2 weeks, it would just regress because he wasn't actually committed to it. But he was a god tier laner, legitimately, like super good, and just the problems like Loco's saying, and like it wasn't just everyone likes to say 2 champs, but like he honestly has a pretty good champ pool,
His
and
tempo
like
is wide. It's just
Yeah.
he has some stupid ass problems he just refuses to fix. So
yeah, I think like he can play a lot of different things. Champ pool is not his problem. He has a lot of other problems, but mechanics isn't one of them either.
Right, what about this then? So, on the scouting grounds issue, what do you actually think, Mark, of, because obviously, I mean, you've both been to the scouting grounds, you know what the concept's all about. What do you actually think of this as something where, you know, it's billed as like, this is where we're going to develop the next talent, or we're going to discover people, or we're going to test them. We're going to see if, like, you know, someone who had potential actually has shown a little something and therefore they're worth picking up to an LCS team. Like, the idea is it's part of the, like, path to pro. What do you think of it from that perspective?
Loco had a bit of a smirk. Did you have a different?
I
'Cause
love
I
scouting.
actually like it.
I love scouting grounds as a concept. I think NA players are so soft. When I interviewed players at scouting grounds, oh, funny story. So when I went with Golden Guardians to scouting grounds last year, and I interviewed players really hard. Like I asked them hard questions. I put them in pressure situations and asked them about like problems and things that happen on teams. And none of the other teams were questioning them that way. Like I heard like other teams were just asking them about their day and like how things went. And the overall impression I got from most NA scouting ground players are these players are not ready to be pro in terms of mindset, and they're just very, very soft. And for this scouting grounds,
Okay.
I looked at the roster of players, and honestly, outside of few standout players, I think there's a lot of old recycled players here, and this one is definitely less valuable than it was last year. That's my overview.
So
Come on.
I had heard that there was no 17-year-olds this year, which I think was the first time of the 3 that it's happened. I'm not 100% certain on that. That's what someone told me. And so like, as well as the fact that some of the players, like it's Winter's 3rd time and stuff like that. To Loco's point, I do think it's getting a little like where. So we found some good players. Where are the rest kind of at situation?
So there's 2 players I want to shout out. I think Metaphor is incredibly skilled, and Metaphor is someone that everyone should really look at. And Fire with a 5 guy, the mid laner, I think he's also pretty skilled from watching him play in amateur leagues and talking to other coaches about him. I'll be completely honest. I only saw the highlights, but all the amateur coaches had very, very high things to say about him. So those 2 players, Fire and Metaphor. I think I said the first guy's name right, but I think those are like 2 standouts. And for everyone else, like maybe they'll surprise us. Who knows?
What do you actually think, though, beyond the premise? Like, do you actually think that this is where these, like, we've already discussed 3 or 4 different teams where, you know, they're having to juggle the import slot and, you know, well, who do you get for the NA player? Like, if like NA player X, who used to be really good's dropped off, well, do we need to upgrade to get him? You know, in that scenario, Mark, are there players at scouting grounds that you legitimately, if you're TSM, if you're Echo Fox, are there players you can get that would be worth it, as opposed to, you know, signing someone who's just like, as we say, like, it doesn't even have to be a good player. It could be like an Altec, you know, someone who's been decent for a long while. Is it worth gambling on these scouting grounds players, in your opinion?
I think with the addition of the Academy League, yes, because you can kind of just store them away and hope that they look good. And I mean, TSM kind of like not like a Blaze Olive was ever going to replace Bjergsen, and it didn't actually end up working out. But I think the idea of what they did with him was smart. Same thing with C9. They took Shiro, who once again also didn't look like that fantastic in the top lane, but they also grabbed Blabber, who was like a key component of their run. And both those guys were, I think, players they worked with at scouting grounds and then drafted from it. So I don't think there's like this overwhelming amount, but like maybe there's 1 or 2 guys, I would say hopefully every year, that end up panning out and you can grab one of them.
I think overall, as a concept, scouting grounds is good. League just needs to get a tiny bit bigger, and the whole high school, there's like a high school League of Legends program now, along with a collegiate program. I hope those two can funnel a lot of good players into scouting grounds. But from my overview and the limited information I have, this year's scouting ground doesn't look that great. But I love scouting grounds as a concept. I wish we had stuff like this earlier.
And to be fair, like in NBA and NFL and stuff, like there are what are considered to be weak years of draft classes where like it just doesn't look that great. And then some years it's like, oh my God, like the year Kobe came out was like disgusting, I'm pretty sure.
That was a
like,
ridiculous one. That was like Allen Iverson, Ray Allen. There's a lot of good players in that one, yeah.
Yeah, so like that it happens in traditional sports too, where you have strong and weak draft years.
I'm personally not a big fan of scouting grounds. Like, first of all, I have no interest in watching it. Like, I think it's a garbage viewing product. Like, it's not top players. They're not playing in a real team. It's not real League of Legends. Like, I can't think of few things that I'd like to do less than watch an exhibition game of amateurs playing League of Legends. That's pretty boring to me, just personally. I'm not saying like there's no value for other people. The only value I can personally see in it is the angle of like it's a different way for a coach of a team to potentially interact with someone before they sign them. So it's kind of like a mini trial, like, you know, at least he gets to talk to the guy or give the guy some feedback and see what he responds to it. The problem I have with it is I don't feel like it's really like, because it's so different from being in a team or even playing an actual real team game of League of Legends, I don't feel like it's that great a sort of audition. Like, I don't really, actually, funny enough, since you alluded to it, Mark, I actually think if you look at a lot of different sports, stuff like the NFL and the NBA, they've been plagued by the fact that you can't rely on draft picks, actually. There's people who look fucking amazing in, like, high school and college. Like, they're dominating. Seriously, like, they're breaking records in their conference or whatever. Like, they're some big school, they're looking amazing. But the problem is, it's actually oftentimes those players are the coin flip ones where they're either, really good or terrible in the NBA. Like, I feel like the problem is, and so likewise, I also felt like in Challenger and the Scouting Ground scenario, it's hard to know if the guy who looks good there is actually going to be good in the LCS. Like, it's a gamble anyway, which I'm not saying I've got a better solution. It's maybe worth trying, but like, I don't feel like it's a very consistent approach to knowing who the good players are personally.
More so than knowing what good players are, it's a very good stepping stone for players that are great in solo queue and have no connections to teams to actually make connections and take a first step in becoming a pro player. It's like steps to being a pro. I think Scouting Grounds, as much as I shout on it, is a very good concept, and I really hope it stays and it gets improved upon. One suggestion to Riot: Scouting Grounds needs more publicity and needs more eyes on it. Why don't you invite like people like Tyler One or Scara to like cast a game and analyze the players? Like, these top tier content creators / streamers play solo queue all day, and they meet these players and they'll have a lot of opinions, and you need eyes on Scouting Grounds. Just invite Tyler One and Scara and like have them do desk work for Scouting Grounds. It makes so much sense.
No, just invite Mark Z and have him do it and pay him the money.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, I could be totally wrong, and so
Are they coming?
Probably, I think, isn't the WWE thing being tied into Scouting Grounds? Like, there's that promo.
I have
It's
no
on
idea.
November. I just looked it up real quick. It's on November 18th, so I think it might be. I think they're trying to do stuff to get more publicity towards it. But to Thorin's point, I agree. I actually don't think it's that fun to watch for the average viewer. And I think the best thing you can do is like promote it for just like general players of League of Legends and not for viewers, and be like, hey, look at this cool thing where if you're really good at our game, you get to fly out and be like a pro, and, you know, incentivize like competitive ladder play from Scouting Grounds more than like trying to make a good viewing product, because I think that's a tall order.
Right. That's enough about NA. We've covered them quite a lot. Obviously, made it the meat of the episode. Right, let's discuss some of the Korean teams then. But what we're going to do is we'll discuss a bunch of them based on the limited info that's available now. Like, we know at the moment, like, a couple of players have been released. There's rumours they'll build around certain players. And we'll obviously tease the SK Telecom one until later. But I think, here's the thing though, before we do the reveal, Loco, you have to let me and Mark do a couple of guesses. Like, we have to do, because, you know, we have to have a chance to see if we can just nail it, just blind, in the dark, you know. So, anyway, let's start away. So, one of the teams, Mark, that apparently is going to potentially blow up. We know already one big name player's left is KT Rolster. So Mata has already left. There's the scenario where the rumor is they just want to build around Smeb, and he's the only player that's kind of like for certain in the team. And then no one really knows with the rest of them where they're at. Like, I mean, just looking at recent history, you'd have to figure maybe someone like UCal's probably available in that scenario. You know, there's a lot that you can do with that squad. But obviously, the tough thing about the team was, I think this is the reason they didn't make moves before, is they're a team that on paper had all these amazing names. And so part of you wants to be like, well, I can't remove that guy, dude. It's Deft. Oh, I can't remove this guy. It's Scott. Like, you know, it was so tough. So part of me feels like you do have to blow it up. Like, you can't just put one player out, because they did try that mix quite a lot. And yeah, they won LCK narrowly, but you know, I think that has to be judged an underwhelming roster for the talent. So what do you think? What would, if not some kind of like theory craft, what do you think they should do in that team?
I thought they were pretty good, all things considered. Like, yeah, they bumped into IG in quarters and like ended up not being able to win because of that. But I thought they were actually really impressive and probably just like eyeball-wise second best team at the tournament.
Oh, at Worlds, I would agree. I meant sort of for the 2 years they had this core, you know.
Oh, well, right. So
if you have these players, you should be getting a lot more trophies than that, right?
Yeah, I mean, like the whole Pawn year was a bit of a disaster, and like UCal stepping up kind of saved this potential. But like you said, it should have been a lot higher, I would say. But I would be the type to probably be like, can we give it another year with UCal?
Okay,
but if Mata's already on the way out, which is the rumor, right? Then like you're gonna have a hard time replacing him, and then like once it starts like a waterfall, I don't know what their plan is, because a lot of people might leave then.
That roster is super expensive to keep together.
Oh yeah, that's obviously a factor as well, by the way. Like that is another reason why some of those players came back, is because they were willing to really spend to try and beat SK Telecom. But here's the angle, Loco, I want to ask you. You always stress that in the team, one player you consider like culpable for some of the flaws of the team was Mata, because he was so controlling and he was like the general, you know. And obviously in certain points of time he has revolutionized how League of Legends was played. So if you just remove him and keep most of the other players, isn't that actually an approach to maybe making the pieces work differently?
Yeah, I mean, then you become a SMEP-focused team. You have one more year of making it work with all the pieces you have. Score has to go to Army after 2019. After 2019, Score cannot play in Korea.
Is he 29 years old now or something?
He's 92, so he becomes 27 or 28. He's actually the same age as me, but because I have a green card, I can stay in NA as long as I want without going to the Army. But
look, I reckon you could actually convince him you're crazy and not have to go, mate. I think you could get out of that one if you need to. I'll be a character witness if you want. I'll be like, listen, this one time he was going on about intangibles. He thinks this fucking wiggly guy is going to be good. Like, they'd be like, right, here's like, yeah, you don't have to do your military service, mate. Just go home and God bless you, whoever's taking care of you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. But anyways, for Score, government, unless he gets an exception from the government, he has to go to Army after 2019. So they have one more year with the core they have without Mata. So I feel like KT is going to try to all in and try to keep most of their pieces together. UCal, Score, SMEP, and Deft also, and then try to just get something that works in support. But KT is in a really weird spot where if Score also decides I want to be on another team, maybe something like SKT, I want to win Worlds before I retire. So he goes all in for SKT and he takes a pay cut or something like that. Then they just blow everything up and probably only keep SMEP and UCal and try to make a roster around that. There's just a lot of moving pieces for KT. Now Mata is determined, the one last moving piece that's going to determine whether KT goes into a rebuilding year or try for another championship year is Score.
So I looked up the global contract database. Actually, like so many players in Korea are 2018. And KT, every single player is up this year. So it's going to be really hard for them to keep all their players, keep them from getting poached by other regions, keep them from just wanting a change of scene after 2 years, not, like Thorin said, seeing that much success. So like with Mata already out the door, it sounds like, then it's actually probably really, really hard.
Okay. But understand all these Korean teams, almost every single one of the Korean teams have huge amount of spending power. They just have to feel like it's worth it. They could all pay for top tier players. They just have to feel like it's worth it. And what most Korean teams are doing right now is paying to keep one or two core pieces. And obviously for KT, that's SMEP.
Okay. So another team then that has a similar philosophy, it seems, is the team that was the best in Korea, King's Own Dragon X. And apparently the player that they're going to choose to keep is two-time MVP BDD, the mid laner, who obviously was someone who was very well hyped, was considered to be a very strong player when they were at their best, when they were Longju, when they were King's Own. This is a team where, again, it's kind of like the KT scenario. You had all these names, all these players who were considered very good, like great at their roles. Obviously, at one point in time, they also were very good. They were LCK champions a couple of times. If they really blow this one up, what do you think? Like, do they keep any other pieces than BDD? Should they?
Gorilla and Prey are incredibly expensive pieces for them, and they dropped off a lot. So those two are, I don't think they're gonna take a pay cut to be on Kingzone. So I think most likely those two leave. And also Peanut is a weird piece for BDD. Like I don't think Peanut and BDD ever fit together very well, and Peanut also did not fit together with Faker. I think Peanut fits together more with Kuro type of players, where Peanut wants a lot of freedom and wants a lot of resources. And I think it's for Kingzone, what they should do is blow up everything but BDD, in my opinion. I think they're actually very clear on what they should do.
You know,
Should kick out Khan as well.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about Khan.
Khan still doesn't play tanks well to this day, in my opinion. I think it was worth keeping Khan because they were already in like a championship mode, so it was good to have a high tier player with some flaws. But when you're creating something brand new, what's the point of keeping Khan? Like, if you still can't play tanks after how many years of competitive play. Also, people think Khan is a new player on the scene. He is not a new player on the scene. He's been playing since around season 2 under the name Halabong, and he switched to Khan, and you guys just think he's a new player, but he's not a new player. So, yeah, like...
In some ways, the Korean Huni.
Yeah, in some ways, Korean Huni.
It's the same joke again.
Joke, yeah.
You guys are on the same page. Nice.
Exactly. Not bad.
Keep BDD, blow up everything.
What about this, Loco? Assuming Mata isn't joining SK Telecom, you put Mata into the Kingzone team and pair him with Prey.
Oh,
strong leader, someone who's got, might change the way the whole game's played, make Prey more of a lane dominant player as opposed to waiting for the team fight,
So Prey's kind of like PewDiePie of Korea. I'm not sure if a lot of people
How
know
dare
this.
you? Okay, come on. In what way?
Prey's stream is fucking huge. On Afrika, like, his stream is ginormous. He gets tons of donations every time he streams, and he's like a very, very popular streamer. So when you're that popular of a streamer and you have declining performances, you have something you can lean back on and make a lot of money with, and it's one more distraction to think about instead of committing to the game.
So you're saying you think teams are probably going to be pretty cold on Prey in that regard if he has a big contract to sign and he's been trending downwards and he has a backup plan?
Yeah.
I will say this.
I don't think teams are going to be incredibly cold. I just think Prey himself is going to be
right. Okay.
Do I want to put in another year of like hard work when my stream is going this well and I'm getting older?
Because the thing is, I could have seen a world where like teams might consider that as a factor and think, is he distracted or something? Because for anyone who doesn't know, the reason why Prey has a mysterious like year and a half in his career where he's just not playing League of Legends, despite going from like, champion, very briefly drop off, out of League of Legends, comes back with the Rocks Tigers team, is because he was around in Korea and he was available and he was inquiring with teams. I mean, I remember famously people used to say the CJ team should pick him up and put him with Mad Life, but all the teams had heard these rumors that like he's got a bad attitude or he'd spent so much time with his girlfriend, which was like a big taboo back then. He had this rep that people didn't want to take a chance on him. Now it turns out either they were right then and he changed later, or they were wrong and he turned out to be a fabulous player later on in Rocks and so on. But it wouldn't surprise me based with that track record. What do you think, Loco? Can you corroborate some of this?
So I actually know personally what happened. So when Prey was on Najin, later towards his career, he started missing team dinners to hang out with his girlfriend, and that was the very first girlfriend that Prey had. I know everyone here has had like sex with hundreds and thousands of women, especially.
Yes,
Twitch
we're all on
chatters,
Reddit now.
YouTubers,
Yes.
like,
Everyone's jacked. They all have Ferraris, everything.
But your first girlfriend, especially as like a pro player, someone that wasn't very popular and that didn't get a lot of attention, like you just give so much into and you fall way too hard for it. And that's what Prey did. So his first girlfriend wasn't the best person and he invested a lot of time and he started skipping team dinners and being more distant from the team. And after, they broke up, Prey started playing a lot, and the old Najin people, Nofe and Gorilla, reached out to him and the whole GE Coup Tigers thing happened. So I think Prey matured. But weird place.
Okay. Right, one team, I want to get your take on this one, Mark, is the Gen G lineup. Apparently, the players that they are targeting to keep are Ruler and QV. Right. Obviously, when you're talking about a team that was world champions only 1 year ago, most people are probably shocked. Like, they probably think, you changed one piece here and there. What do you think about blowing this team up?
I actually like the idea of blowing this team up for the most part. Like, I wouldn't even be that interested in keeping Cuve, honestly. I think when he's playing well, he's really good, but he has like huge slumps in regular seasons, and it's hard to like feel like you can count on him. And he didn't have a great Worlds performance either. Ruler was the only one who looked like good, and everyone else looked pretty miserable at different points. So this is like some of these other teams. I'm like, oh, I hope they don't blow up. Like, I think like I would like KT to get another year together. It doesn't sound like that's gonna happen. Even Kingzone, I think like I like Khan probably more than Loco does. Whereas like maybe QV is a little bit more versatile in when he plays. I also think like Khan's better than QV. So
Alright, Mark, did you know that Khan played since season 2-ish?
yeah.
Okay.
Same way with like Smeb has
wait a
been
minute.
around forever. Like a lot of them have been around forever.
I mean, the logic with why you're saying that, Loco, is that you're just never going to be a tank player on that logic, right?
Yeah, that he's very set in his ways.
Okay. Yeah,
I
but
mean-
here's the thing. If you've followed the conversation so far, Mark also considers Hooney a good player. Yes, a flawed player, a player who has to be played around in a certain way. I'm guessing, in that sense, Khan is the Korean Hooney in that one, right? If you actually do play around his strengths, he's pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Right, and I think this might be too speculative, but like what we saw at Worlds this year was like how good is your carry play? And if you can't play carries in solo lanes, you get fucking dumpstered. And a lot of people said this was one of the best Worlds to watch, and I wonder how much of this kind of style is what people aim and hope the meta is, where it's more about individual skill and like skill matchups and things like that, and less tank top, control mage mid, late game team fight.
Yeah, it's actually so fucked up because we don't know what the meta is like going to be next year, and we don't know how much it would change. Like, who the fuck knew you would play stuff like Vladimir and Yasuo bottom, and who could have built the roster like knowing that? Like, we're like a what billion-dollar, like multi-billion-dollar industry where our basketball rules might change. Suddenly, there's 4-pointer shots, 5-pointer shots. Like, if you bounce it from the ground, like it's a 7-pointer. Like, we get brand new rules to play with every year, and teams have to build rosters without knowing those rules.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's really
go on.
speculative, but like if you're keeping this like emphasis on solo lane carry potential, like I would take Khan over QV for sure.
Yeah, sure, but
Of course.
if you knew if I know that, if I know the meta's gonna be like that, I agree with you. But you don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know.
But even beyond that, like QV, I think his slumps frustrate me, where he just doesn't look good for long periods of time because it's almost like the Impact thing, where like Impact's been around for so
Yes.
long that like he just sucks in the regular season because it feels like he's like, I'll be good when it matters, and like I don't really like that in such a competitive Korean scene where it felt like 5 teams. What was it? 5 teams were fighting for number 1 on the last weekend or whatever it was. Something insane
Yeah.
like that.
Stats were
I'd
great.
even extend the metaphor further because I've personally always thought people overrated Impact a bit because they did that thing where it's like they don't just give him credit for what he does. Like, good tank player, like seems to play well without having perfect comms in English, like seems like a veteran who doesn't like choke under pressure. But then they have to like add in some bullshit like, oh, but if he wanted to just play carries all the time, he could be super sick of that as well. It's like, come on, man, like you don't have to go too far with it. Like, say he's a good player, but don't get crazy. Like, I understand that the reason why Impact is highly valued is because of the NA residency aspect. Like, that's a very good reason to keep him in a team. But I've always felt the same about QV. I always thought he got his hype from that angle of, like, no one expected anything from him because he was actually sort of bad in the early days when they first made that, like, rebooted Samsung. And then the key thing was when they had the carry threats elsewhere, when Crown was a monster, when Ruler was getting better, then it was like, oh, actually, QV's not bad, Hey, look, he did well against this player that we thought was going to be better in top lane. Like, he was never like a sick carry threat or some like dominant player for me. Loco, thoughts?
I like Cube. I like
his cannon.
I like flexibility in a player, and I love how flexible Cube is and everything that he can play. The slump thing, yeah, definitely a problem, but you at a certain point, like you have to deal with like the flaws on a player. I know you're gonna say,
course.
but why don't you deal with flaws of Huni? Why don't you deal with flaws of Khan? Because like those flaws are fatal.
Okay.
Like
He's
not
trying to
being able
preempt
play
me. I
them
like this. Keep
fatal.
going. Yeah, he's answering before
He
he has to
listened.
do it. Yeah, it's
Loco
good.
listened.
I'm the little voice inside his head now. It's okay. It's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like Cube. I like Cube more than you. I like Cube for. I think we agree on like what Cube's bad at and what Cube's good at, and we agree
Okay.
on what Khan's bad at, what Khan's good at. We value players differently, and I value flexibility in roles a lot. Mark values what is it, firepower and
Carry
I don't want to
potential.
speak, yeah, carry potential.
Yeah, ceiling and stuff. Yeah, I will say this. Like to tie it back into what we were just earlier addressing. If you are a GM of a team, unfortunately, the history of League of Legends tells you if you have to gamble between good, flexible top laner and carry-focused top laner, you go with the former over the latter. Like, you just historically, the odds on the meta coming down. Like, okay, let's say it's possible. Let's say the chances of the meta coming to be carry top focused again is like 2 out of 6, so 1 out of 3. I don't know why I made it 2 out of 6. I guess I'm making it a dice. Okay, there we go. In that world, I'd go ahead and just take the flexible top player who plays tanks. You're probably better to just get a really strong mid laner and AD. Makes more sense generally.
There's such a big disconnect between all these orgs and like companies investing millions and billions of dollars into League
Millions,
of Legends,
yeah.
millions of dollars into League of Legends, and not knowing the future. It's actually really weird. It's so weird that Riot doesn't have like a season 8 or season 9 summit on, hey, this is what we're planning.
Right.
We're
Okay.
not going to make these kind of changes, and we want League to be like this, and like all the
Okay.
teams know. There has like it's so crazy that the game could change like that.
The only counterpoint to that would be like at the end of the day, I think the game still is going to end up being designed more around like the casual player experience. And so like, if you present, I don't know what would piss off these $1 million companies more: you not presenting anything, or you presenting something, then building around it, and then you pivoting in the middle of the
Yes.
year because it's like the player base hated that change that we thought they'd like. I imagine they'd prefer no info than wrong info.
Yeah, maybe.
There's 2
but-
angles I've got for that though. Like, one is a joke angle, which is like, I mean, how the fuck is Riot actually going to know what their meta is going to be? Like, I don't think they actually know that. You know, they're the guy who's like, what if I was to like throw chocolate chips into this ice cream and then like peanut butter and then shrimp? There we go. What is that? Is it good? Is it good? You like it? You like it? Keep trying it. You like it? Do you still like it? No, right? Okay. Lobster as well. Going more seafood. You like it? No, still don't like it. Right, back to marshmallows instead of the lobster and the shrimp. Like, you like that? Oh, too sweet. Sorry. Like, that's Riot, right? I don't think they really like. That's the joke answer, but I also think to make it serious, I don't think you actually can know as a game dev in a game like League of Legends when you change so many variables what they will actually happen. And in fact, I think that's a good thing. Like, in my opinion, the best metas are where there's just a lot of options. No one knows where it's going to go. And then it's like players and how teams play defines the meta, you know, and that's what shapes our thoughts on it, which is, by the way, is basically what happened this year. Everyone thought it was like play through the bottom lane, and then they didn't change the game, but you got to Worlds after Summer Split, and suddenly it wasn't that at all. So it's kind of hard to even actually scientifically predict what's going to happen in the meta.
I'm not saying tell us, hey, the meta is
Sure,
gonna be
your
bottom
idea is just give like a basic outline, yeah.
Be like, go over the year at least and be like, hey, when Yasuo and Vladimir and Heimer were played bottom, these were something we liked and we intend for in the future to keep non-AD carries strong and a viable choice. Then teams can be like, oh, we should value maybe people like Harnan a little higher. We should value flexibility in the AD carry role. And also as players, I can be like, hey, if I want to be a pro player and I want to play the AD carry role, I should pick up Yasuo and Vladimir. But they allowed it to exist and they killed it completely. And then maybe they allow it to exist again or they buff it. But I really want Riot to make like at least some statements and give some direction for the future. So, because there's so many people where their lives are dependent on League of Legends now, and for there to be such a big question mark every year is kind of, yeah, it's crazy, Mayo.
I know what you mean. Like, here's the thing. In isolation, I'm with you because I don't give a fuck about casual fans. I just care about the high level of the game, and I want the best teams to have the best chance to win. And for example, I really do want people who, if someone's an amazing general manager type character, I'd like him to have the tools to be able to go out and be like, this is my vision for how I'm going to address this meta and the next year and what I'm going to pick. And that would, like, you know, you'd get a premium for having that guy in your team. The problem is, like, the pragmatic reality of League of Legends as a game is they're way too far down the rabbit hole of catering to casual players and buffing and nerfing things just to give turnover in the meta, to make it so that solo queue isn't the same 4 champions in each role. That unfortunately I don't think they're going to sort of reverse course and go that way, Loco. Like, I know what you mean. Like, I'd do it if it was me, but then again, maybe my game wouldn't be as big. I don't know. It's hard to know on that one. It's tough.
I mean, they take in good directions and they make sure they never do shit like the Juggernaut patch right before Worlds again, and they fixed the patch for Worlds and made it better, and they purposely do small patches around Worlds instead of big changes. Now that you're catering to Worlds so much and you make sure Worlds is good, how about making sure the entire year is good? I don't think they have to go extreme, and they can still cater to casuals, but just give us a little bit of general directions.
Just give us a hint. Tease us. Come out with a flaunty little Victoria's Secret number. You're not naked. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyone can look at that. Kids can watch that. Well, I don't actually know if that's true, but I assume they can. Whatever. Well, listen, kids see women naked all the time when they're born. It's a weird analogy, but it's true. It's absolutely factual. Anyway, again, Mark's not in any way associated with those comments. I made those separately. He's not even on the same box as me. We're disconnected. Exactly.
Over.
Yeah, exactly. No, here's where we're going with this. Here's where we're going with this, Loco.
Okay.
Is one team that is also, it seems like, going to blow their team up is a team where, if you go back, Mark, to the end of the spring split of last year, this year rather, people would have said Afrika is like a rising team. Like, they look really good. They have good players at every position. After Worlds, they got 3-0 by an NA team. So it's time to blow this entire motherfucker up. Like, just, listen, pick one guy, everyone else gets the bullet. Like, that's the feeling in the Afrika camp right now. What do you think? Because it seems like the guy they're going to build around is Keen, the top laner.
Well, he was the only one who looked good at all. Like, Kramer
Sure.
and Tucson got destroyed by Sneaky, who was getting destroyed for most of group stage. Like, I know you don't want to use exactly transitive properties. He did start picking Lucian out of
Sure.
nowhere in that series, but like, he looked bad. Kuro looked bad. Everyone but Keen looked bad. Like, it felt like, I can see why people would want to blow this roster up. I would probably want to blow this. Like, if I was in charge of it, I'd want to blow it up.
Yeah, I mean, keep Keen. Everyone else can be on the potential chopping block. The two interesting players for me are Tufin and Kuro. Kuro is like Pobelter, but better and can do okay to decent internationally. And also, there aren't very hard upgrades in Korea. Who's a hard upgrade to Kuro? BDB, Faker, Yukao? Yukao is a discussion. I don't think it's a hard upgrade. Give me a mid laner from Korea that's better than Kuro that's not BDB and Faker.
I mean, the problem there is, in the past, you would just say rookie, but like the odds he comes back now, surely
Yeah,
none. Now he's just won Worlds, you know.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
you would say maybe Chovy has higher potential or
Sure.
something as well, but like, he's also, Griffin's the only team with people with rosters in 2020, so like, you probably can't get him unless you're making some kind of crazy trades.
Yeah. So Kuro is an expensive piece that Afrika has to make a decision on, but yeah, I think Keen, the decision's already made. We're gonna keep Keen. We're gonna build around Keen, and then now you have to decide, what do I do about Kuro? I can't replace him with someone better, but also I don't want someone that's worse. So you're in a really weird spot. It's very similar to TL, in my opinion, about Pobelter. There is like upgrades that are possible, but not attainable, and everything else is like a downgrade or a side grade.
I would take a chance on UCal if it was me. I would take UCal over Kuro.
Okay. If that's available, then that's definitely a viable option.
Yeah.
What do you think about Tucson? I thought Tucson looked like the best support player in Korea, and he became disappointing at Worlds, but they read the meta terribly wrong.
Yeah, that to me felt a little more meta related, but and it's
He
also
also
hard
did
to-
some really weird shit at Worlds as well. Like, I thought he was going to be the best, yeah, like you said, the best support, and he did some really weird, like, just individual misplays, even in lane.
He played really nervous, in my opinion, and yeah, meta bad, played nervous.
Kramer wasn't playing well either.
Yeah, put in situations where they're constantly pushed in. As a support, when you're constantly pushed in and your team doesn't get vision, it's very easy to get picked out.
Yeah, I would say support and jungle are the two roles that, like, if a team is not functioning well, will like have the most adverse effect to the overall team environment.
See, it's a tough one because I have to say, I actually think that, like, obviously it's going to sound weird because Korea does have Faker, like BDD, rookie, amazing mid players, but in the actual LCK, mid's not one of the strongest positions in Korea. Like a lot of the teams that are like mid to the bottom of the table, their mid laner isn't their best player. Like a lot of the, like for example, like Jin Air was a good team, but actually their mids was probably the worst players. Like there was a lot of underwhelming players at those positions, I thought. So I can't even think of someone who's like, like there's no Teddy who's in a bottom team who like, oh, just give this guy a chance. It's like, I wouldn't read. Like I know some people actually said they thought that like Maha from MVP was better than some of these players. Like I don't buy that, mate. Like I was a very average player from what I saw the few times I watched them play. I'm trying to look at the other ones. Like the others are all people we know already. Like what Kuzan, we've seen him play a long time.
Fly, like all these.
Like actually Tempt, I thought was one of the worst parts of the like BBQ team. Like I said, the Jin Air ones were kind of a waste of time. Who else even is there? That's about it, right? Oh, unless there's a world where like you bring Scout back from EDG, there's maybe one sort of side move, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I actually do think you put him. I think you put him back on a Korean team. That's one thing I think is actually unfair. Some of the players who went to China, yeah, some of them might look better because they might be playing for some team where they just do whatever they want and like no one gives a fuck about winning the game. But I also think. I made a video about this when you move Koreans to the West. People do judge them way too harshly as though like it's the exact same setting for them as the NALCS player who's from like Europe. Like, come on, dude, it's way harder for the Korean guy. Like, he's got everything against him. So I actually think someone like Scout, he's shown himself to be good at times in EDG. I could see him being even better if he goes to the right Korean team. That could be a great move,
For sure.
Okay, we've teased it for long enough, Loco. So what we need to do is this. Now, the rumour, understandably, Mark, is that SK Telecom obviously is not going to kick that guy called Paker, who I referred to earlier in the show. He will be built around again. But, interestingly enough, that's really the only sort of rumour. Like, there isn't... People didn't... I know a lot of other people said, yeah, keep Bang as well. I noticed, actually, that wasn't actually what a lot of people were saying should be the move, So, let's see if we can guess before Loco drops a bomb on us. So, I will say this.
One guess each.
One guess each, right? Oh, here's the thing. Before we guess, just do the theorycraft part. Then we'll theorycraft what we think they should do, and then we'll do the guess.
I'll set it up.
Okay.
SKT started their off season way faster than any other team. Any other team going to Worlds, and even out of the teams that aren't going to Worlds, they started their off season way faster, and they actually collected a lot of amateur players, and they were able to run like test scrims and stuff. But this player that they picked up is not an amateur player, and he's a very, very strong player. And he's not replacing Faker. And
right.
I'm not 100% sure on this, but Faker is most likely staying in SKT.
Right. So what we've got from that, Mark, is it's not an amateur. Loco thinks he's a very strong player. That's the key detail you've got to understand.
Everyone thinks he's a very strong player. Everyone.
Well, finally, Flame to SK Telecom. We waited so long for that one, right? No. Okay. So everyone apparently thinks he's a really strong player, and it's not mid lane.
It's not mid lane.
From that, who do you surmise? What at least what direction we headed in first? Maybe we can like confer before we
no, I can't. I can't.
Oh, okay, right, okay. So we're not allowed to phone a friend, right? Okay, so it's 50-50, right?
All right, you want to go first, or should I go first?
See, my problem with this... Oh, I forgot one other detail, because if this is a red herring, well played, because this is the part that threw me off, is the fact that he had to bring up the part that they were started early, and that it was even during Worlds.
Right,
if it wasn't during Worlds, I was going to go with, like, Khan, and that would be the controversial move, But the problem is, would they really have gone with him? I mean, presumably not... Aside from that, presumably none of the Worlds players, because presumably they were at Worlds. So I know Khan wasn't at Worlds, but would they have gone with him then? Because that was kind of what I was thinking of. Like, I think that's like a good controversial move of like, fuck it, let's just go all out. And obviously that guy's maybe not in the greatest demand right now because sadly Koreans do tend to like bail on someone when they think they're like
also
a loser,
Tuesday, November 13th at 6:40. Tuesday, November 13th, 6:40.
And just to confirm, Loco is a massive fucking Korean weeb by that like background he has on his phone there. That's like his secret waifu girlfriend, like his favorite K-pop girl. You know what people will say when someone asks me, "Who's your favorite K-pop girl?" I go,
you say Loco?
Yeah, obviously. I go, yeah, my side bitch. She's my ride or die. What can I tell you? Like, we had listen, it was fiery to begin with. We had our back and forth, but I just can't leave you, baby. I just can't quit you, Loco.
I'll check Reddit and Phomos and like all the Korean websites.
See if anyone's guessed.
Yeah, well, to see if the news broke, because I'm 100. Right. This one I'm 99% sure because I checked with two separate sources and they both confirmed it for me.
Okay.
All right. Well, do you want Khan then, Thorin? Because I'll take Khan if you're not going to take him.
My problem is this, right? I'm not saying it yet, but my two that I was going to go with was either Khan or Mata, but the problem is the Mata one seems to be thrown off by the world's angle. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, why he'd bring that up if that was somehow not relevant. Then again, apparently they might be adding a bunch of players. So yeah, I'll say Khan. Fuck it. Here's the problem. It doesn't make any sense because Loco's just said that everyone thinks he's a strong player and Loco clearly doesn't think Khan's that good. So I kind of feel like that's a stupid one in that sense. Then again, here's the part that's dodgy, right? Add this part in before we answer. Why would he say everyone agrees it's a really strong player if he also said it was controversial at the beginning of the episode?
I think
That's the weirdest part of this mystery, isn't it?
so. One of the things I was wondering is if it's a player that had also spent time overseas and like had come back or something. So like,
Right.
So I checked Phomos and Reddit and Inven. The article isn't broken yet, so
Right.
we're actually gonna be the first one to break it.
Well, if this video comes out in time.
Yeah.
all right, I'll
Sure.
I'll say Ignar.
Okay.
My God.
Mark,
Wait a minute, Mark. No,
Mark-
don't. That's not final answer. It's like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It's not final answer. Mark, surely everyone doesn't think Ignar's a really good player, though.
I think some people, like a lot of people, thought he was really good after Worlds last
Okay,
year.
but
and
do you
I
think Loco does?
I don't know. I'm trying to avoid the obvious ones because Mata and Khan
Yes.
are two really obvious ones.
Sure.
Maybe they started like everyone kind of starts talking earlier, so there's like the whole Rocks Tigers agreeing that they were going to end after Worlds or whatever rumor. Like, there's a chance it's someone just completely different, but I'll go with Ignar just to be really out there.
Because who else could it be?
Ignar, Mark, or you guys? Is that your final answers?
Khan and Ignar, yeah.
The problem is, I don't think I should say Khan based on the thing that Loco said about everyone thinking he's strong. Because I actually think a lot of people flame him now. See, that's the thing. Because I don't know I would have actually said someday, but then again, I don't even know. Is his contract even available? Is he on the database?
Let me see.
Sunday's on
Double
the
check.
Someday, even if he's contracted, he made the tweet that says he can talk to other people.
Okay.
Yeah, he's actually done too. He's done November 19th. So
Because like I say, I would personally put him on that team. Like, I think it just makes
Oh,
a lot
yeah,
of
Sunday's
sense
a good
to me,
answer.
you know? Yeah, so I'll say someday, even if it's wrong. Fuck it, let's go.
Someday,
Yeah.
Doran. Mark, what's your final answer?
I'm just still saying Ignar. I just want to hear. Like, I'm probably wrong, but let's just hear it.
Okay,
at this
let's
point.
go then.
The mysterious player that's joining SKT and contract is signed and everything is Teddy from Jin Air. That's why it's controversial, because he might be potentially replacing Bang.
Boo. Boo. Is that controversial?
He might be replacing Bang. That's controversial. Bang.
No, that's such a whack part to be controversial, though. That it's only him replacing Khan. That Bang that's controversial. Come on.
But Teddy's joining SKT. Teddy's
Okay, that's a great
joining
move.
SKT.
Yeah, it's a fantastic move. Not least,
Yeah.
by the way, because for anyone who hasn't seen Teddy play, I'll do like my QV rant, but about Bang now. I have never said Bang is a bad player.
Okay.
When he first got to SA Telecom, I made a joke tweet that he was like Zephyr, because my point was he's a stable AD carry who had a good support player. I mean, I don't really count it in that sense, but like that was what Zephyr was to me. And he was like serviceable. Bang definitely got better when he was in this SK Telecom with Faker, and I did think at one point in time he was like a very strong, like traditional AD carry where they just play reasonably safe early on, get to the team fight, and then do a lot of damage is what you're supposed to do. But apparently, when it's everyone except Bang, Loco just goes, "Yeah, just do your fucking job, don't you?" Like, you know. But anyway, here's the
That's
rant
a great
part.
move, right?
I do think that people really overrated the angle on like Bang's a monster carry. You know why I know that, Mark? Is because if you ever ask me, especially in one of the games I'm like an expert in, like CS:GO, if you ever ask me like, tell me why this player's good, I would never say, remember that game they played 3 years ago? I'd go, well, here's some qualities of him. Here's like his last 5 big games. You know, here's what he did in the like. Everyone who tells me Bang's like a super hard carry, amazing AD carry. Remember that game against CJ in like the playoffs and LCK spring season? Yeah, I do, but it was like 3 years ago, motherfucker. Like, give me something new. What's he done recently that's so amazing that you have to tell me this guy's sick? So he was a good player, but Teddy was a fucking monster on Jin. Like, this guy was in absolute elo hell, and he still, like, he did that thing that I love with players who know their hard carries, where they're just like, I am the only win condition, so we have to do like what I need to do, and that might give us some chances to win. And if we don't, fuck it, I'm going out shooting anyway, and you guys suck and I don't. So I think that put him with Faker, that's a fucking awesome move. I think.
What do you think, Mark?
That's
I
my
think it's a
rant
good
over.
move.
It's not
It's
that
not-
sexy, is it? He tried.
Yeah,
he
I
hyped like a big name there, didn't he?
Dude,
Yeah,
come on. That's an incredible story break. Come on, Jacob.
I
Wolf
know.
is fuming
I
know.
right
Hey,
now.
I'm not
Hey,
hating
we're
on the
not-
move. Yeah, I'm not hating on your break, mate. I'm just saying, you make it seem like it was going to be like
You
fucking
hyped
the
this up
shy
for
or
like 2
calm.
hours.
Yeah.
It's
You hyped up-
it's so
You told me it
hype.
was sexy.
It's so hype. Teddy to SKT is so fucking hype. Come on.
The amount of Westerners who actually know how good Teddy is probably pretty
It's
like
going to be pretty low. Yeah.
pretty low. So I wouldn't call it sexy. I think it's a good move. I think it's a
Yes.
good move into Faker to Thorin's
Bang.
point. Like Bang was a complete liability last year's Worlds, and he's someone who seems to like be very. I don't know if it's meta dependent or like over like how the rest of the team is going, but he's definitely had a fair amount of struggles over the last couple of years. So yeah, get Teddy for sure.
Okay. So I'll give you guys another teaser. On the next episode, I will reveal a team that's going to be in the LCK next year. An LCK team, a sponsor bought out an LCK team, and I can 99% confirm this. I just need to.
And is it a
double source
Korean company?
I don't want to say. I'm not gonna give any clues for this, but on the next episode.
Oh, I think
I'll-
I've heard this one.
On the next episode, can we get some clues and then guess? for
Sure.
that
On
one
the
too?
yeah, on the next
Okay.
episode, I'll give you guys clues. But
Yeah.
what is it? I need to double source it, but the one source I got from it is pretty secure. I just need a second source, and I can 100% say it's true.
Okay.
Dang. I'll try to keep like digging info, so every episode, like I can break something cool for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I think I know this one, but I'll leave it.
The problem is though, like the other ones, like it has to be a lot more moves than just that to make SK Telecom good, though.
Yeah.
You know, like for example,
I know.
they have
I
to
also-
figure out the top lane, surely.
I also don't even know if Teddy's gonna start. They have both contracts right now with Teddy and Bang, so maybe they share spots. Maybe Bang gets sold, or maybe they even trade Teddy for another piece. But at the current moment, SKT has both contracts.
The only people I see, at least in the global database, that have through 2018 for SKT is Untara, Blank, and Effort.
Okay.
So I don't know what's happening with Bang. Maybe he got re-upped too then.
Maybe.
If they're saying that he's still on.
So all the information I have about SKT is they started way before everyone else. They got Teddy, and they are about to announce on the 19th. So they pretty much have all their pieces set. I just don't know what top jungle support is going to look like.
Loco, if he was given a spot now, today in 2018, would Mata join SK Telecom, or does he have any beef with them from rejecting him in the past or winning without them?
Mata loves Faker, so I think he would join.
Because to me, that would be the hype fucking move. That you're telling me like Mata and Teddy are the bot
Yeah.
lane. That's straight fire right there.
I was ready for a Mata level announcement.
Okay. Next time I'll do more digging and I'll see if I can do a multi-level announcement.
Okay.
Well, that would be dope.
Listen, the announcement was good. We're not hating on that. You don't have to like
Yeah.
step your game up. Sorry, guys. You're so Korean, isn't he? Like, if you cheer for me, I promise to show good leaks next episode. My performance was not good enough. Like,
I do want to do some leaks when I know it's 100% true, and I think it's fun. But overall, like I want our show to be about good content more so than like just breaking stories.
okay, let me ask you this then, Loco. From the Theorycraft perspective, what do you think SKT should do about jungle and top?
Score, I really want them to get score. I really want the next SKT jungler to not be an X factor and be someone more steady and someone that can manage the game. I don't need like that's why Bengi was so good for SKT because they had such powerhouses like Marin and Faker, and they just like end up getting like more like these risque jungles like Blank and Peanut. And
Would
Yeah.
you consider Spirit if
No,
Rika blows
Spirit-
up? Yeah,
no,
because
Spirit- yeah. Oh, gross. Keep Blank if you're gonna get Spirit. I'd rather they get Xmithty before they get Spirit.
Jesus.
But
Why
I
are you
want
hating
that-
on Spirit? Come on.
I want that type of a jungler. I want like Xmithty, Bengi F jungler for SKT. I really think they need someone that can control the game more.
Would you want
Rainover.
Ambition?
Rainover.
Rain. Actually, that sounds so dope. Rainover on SKT with good solo lanes. Would you? Okay,
What
Mark,
the fuck's wrong with you?
Rainover or-
That Spirit's worse than
Rainover.
Rainover.
Rainover or Spirit for you? I actually
Spirit.
take Rainover.
I'm
for
taking Spirit all day long on that one, mate.
That's not even close, dude.
I've seen Rainover play well with one player. Spirit's a
whole
pretty
career.
legit guy.
If you can play well with Huni, you can play well with Faker, no?
I don't know if that logic makes sense because
Can you play well in Korea? Because he didn't do that either when he was there.
yeah.
I will admit I probably overrate Rainover, but my overall point for SKT is please get a good, steady jungler. Let's get a support that can support Teddy really well, and let's get a strong top laner. I would rather have more more Kuni type top laner than Cube type top laner for SKT. SKT is a team that needs firepower up on top side.
If you want to do like what we said before about like NA imports and how you have to be pragmatic with how you think of like, who could I recruit to this team and like what does that mean for the rest of the spots? Again, if I like I said about the whole Khan versus Cuvée thing, if I'm a general manager and I'm recruiting, but I have to choose which do I get the big name for, jungle or top lane, I'm taking it for top lane all day long. Because like jungle, actually, because it changes every season, and in Korea, it seems to just be heavily coached, basically. Like, even if you have a player like Peanut, they will just sometimes tell him to play a style that doesn't even fit his style. So, personally, I think jungle seems to be, it's bizarre, because in the West this doesn't apply, but in Korea, it seems to be the role that you are most able to get out of solo queue. You can get a guy that no one's heard of, he might actually be able to do the role.
Yeah, I mean, could you just, like, tell him what to do, and he actually listens, instead of arguing with you 24/7?
Exactly, Phoenix.
I was going for more Dardoch route, but
okay.
Would you want Khan if they have Teddy? Like, wouldn't you probably want Cuvée more then?
Sure, in that
maybe,
team.
But I cannot live with another year of SKT top laners just getting dunked on.
Here's the thing, though, Mark.
So important now.
Obviously, like, first of all, the team we're making, we are adding too many star players. Like, this is like the bankroll already is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
But if you do have Teddy and Faker, that's when, if you announce someday, like, the table lifts like 2 inches higher, and I don't even need to do anything. I made it 2 inches just for the joke there. Obviously, like, why not higher Thor? No reason. Yeah, could be any amount of inches. Like, whatever.
But personally, for Thorin, 2 inches.
Listen,
might be different for other people, but personally,
it's not about the length. It's about the girth and the pelvic thrust ability.
Sure, Thorin, sure.
Listen,
whatever you want to do
secret
with
in
your
there.
2 inches,
Exactly.
I'm sure you try really hard.
There's a little secret in there. Mate. So, also, to be fair, no one's ever seen mine.
Wow.
There's an old school reference for you. There's
That's
an old school
one.
Wow.
There's an old
Thorin,
school reference.
Are you trying to admit you're a virgin? Are you trying to admit you're a 40-year-old
No,
virgin?
I want about people on
That's-
stream. They can't. That wasn't a bad spin back. Look, I'll give you credit for that clap back. That wasn't bad. I did phrase it in that way, but it was an old school clap, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else there even is in the league, though. Like, who even is actually available at jungle and top? Let me see.
I mean, I think a fair amount are available.
Because I'll tell you
It's just,
someone
do you
who
want
wasn't
them?
actually a bad top laner, like an underrated one, so you can maybe get him for cheap, was, I don't know if you know this guy very well, Loco. Do you know on the current Rocks Tigers, that guy called Lindarang?
Oh, Lindarang, yeah.
He was actually a pretty decent player when I saw him play. I thought he was because that team on paper was going to be shit, but they were actually not as terrible as you think. He was a decent player.
I'm afraid for SKT because while they did pick up Teddy, another feeling this one I don't have information on. Teddy I had 2 informations on, but the other parts I don't have information. I know for a fact they got a lot of amateur players. Like they collected all the amateur players and
Right.
all the top solo queue players to try in-houses. I feel like they're gonna go with like 3 rookies or 2 rookies. Like
I mean,
Baker,
by the
Teddy,
logic of
3
if you're
rookies.
signing people for big money, you kind of have to, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of afraid.
Yeah, I don't love that, considering it hasn't really worked out for them in a long time.
One thing I will say, though, just a personal hope of my own, whether SK Telecom is good or not, now that we don't have Bengi anymore and we don't have super strong carry top laners, for the love of God, can Faker at least be allowed to fucking pop off for once? That was the thing that killed me last year. It's like, you even had the funnelmeter and you had periods in spring when they were god-awful as well. And they just never put Faker, like, they occasionally, like maybe 1 in 7 games gave him like a champion he could fucking go ham on. Otherwise it was like, sorry Faker, you must play Galio and help all these motherfuckers who were doing nothing. It's like, can I at least see that guy pop off for God's sake? Like, whether you win or lose, come on. He's one of the best players ever.
I mean, I hope that's why they keep the meta relatively close to Worlds, where solo lane carry potential is the most important thing.
I'm getting tired now, Thorin. It's
That's
almost
the
7
end.
p.m. We've been
Okay.
here for a while. You want to close it off? You want to thank Mark for being here?
Yes, thank you, Mark, for appearing on this, A Game of Inches, as we call it. It's kind of like the movie Any Given Sunday.
Yeah.
And on Any Given Sunday, you can see me and Loco giving out straight fire stuff. I don't know when this video is going to come out. I'm just speculating then.
Hopefully, it's going to come out tomorrow morning. Mark,
Okay.
do you want to do any shout outs? Any other shows we might find you on?
Yeah, I do Hotline League on Mondays. Thorn, did you see? This is not a shout out. It's just
Sure.
it wasn't in the show notes. But
Okay.
did you see my? I watched your video about player base excuses for NA.
Yes.
And then I tweeted out something about how it was, I think, very important. Were you saying it was just an excuse for NA, or was it not a good excuse for anyone?
Oh, I think it's a whack excuse for NA, because here's the problem. Like, the point I made in the video is, like, the straw man that everyone attacked was that I said, player base doesn't matter in any way. Like, definitely not what I said. Like, that, like, not only that, why would I make a video saying that? Like, the basic angle I had on this was, it doesn't make sense to say player base, because NA is one of the regions that, like, as we've seen with Europe, literally recruits the top talent from Europe. So if you're telling me Europe has more players, cool, you have access to them as well. Secondly, you have money and massive amounts of infrastructure. That's why Riot even changed the way the league's structured. So all of that, like, infrastructure, coaching, money, ability to import players is, in my opinion, more important than, like, just pure number of players who play ranked, including, remember, that those numbers include people in gold. Those players aren't in any way affecting how people play at the top fucking level. Come on.
Yeah, but normal distribution still matters. Like, if you're taking the 0.001%, if in NA you have 100 of those, you still have 250 in Europe based off what we know about the publicly available information. It's not negligible.
I'll give you an
150,
I'll give you an analogy, right, that I've given before, but it's probably on an old show so bad like no one remembers, right? It goes like this. So in CS:GO, North American teams used to be like, they're like, some of them are very good now, but they used to always be a cut below the top European teams, because there only really was Europe and North America at the time. And what they always used to say was, well, the reason why we aren't that good is because even the good NA teams don't have anyone to practice against. You know, like, if you're like the top two teams and you play teams 3 through 6, then like they're whack. Now, that as an excuse, I vaguely gave some credence when there was only 2 good NA teams. But they continued to say that about NA CSGO teams, even when there was like 5 good NA CSGO teams. I was like, wait a minute. That doesn't make sense, though, because if even the 5 of you agree to scrim properly, you've got 4 good scrim opponents. Like, that wouldn't make sense anymore. Well, here's the angle I have that I've always said about the whole solo queue angle, is like, I think that's like a self-fulfilling prophecy that, like, solo queue's just whacking Challenger and everyone's like just having fun and like smurfing and stuff. It's like, if everyone who was an LCS player agreed to play solo queue properly, Challenger would be amazing in NA. It might not be as good as the US, you might be right on that, but it would be a lot better than it is now. So I feel like that's why it's not the biggest problem. It's like what you do with the players, not how many players you have.
I think. Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead, Mark.
I was gonna say the way I always approach it is like the phrase "hard work beats talent" when talent doesn't work hard. And the problem with North America is
We
that
don't have either.
we don't have either. We're not the most talented, and we're not the hardest working.
Okay.
So, like, you can't do anything about the player base. I think it's worth acknowledging, but I definitely don't think it should be the only thing you're talking about, because you can't ultimately do anything about it. And the thing is, when you import players, those imports are never as well integrated as they are in their own scene. So, like, Korean players are going to probably not be as effective when they don't even speak the language, a large number of them. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I think the player base is an issue, but like I don't think it should be anywhere close to the first thing out of your mouth.
Okay, seems fair. Right, that's the end.
Great.